I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
shall we? Come here. Let's put that in the right spot. Hello, everybody. Yes. Give me a moment. Let me just kind of... Okay, there we go. Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening whenever you are watching this. My name is Josh, and welcome to my channel. On here, we talk news, politics, and current events. It is currently January 17th, 2023, and so far it seems like I think I briefly glanced outside. It looked like we're getting a bit of snow now. Once again in sunny Denver, Colorado, but that's not too much of a deal. Not super broken up about that, but either way, how's everyone doing? So we got kind of a number of stuff to go over today. First, I want to check the I saw as a update to the Andrew Callahan story. I want to quickly look at his response over, like, I think, when did this get put? Yeah, this was like 2 days ago. Yeah, over the weekend, he made some kind of apology of some kind. So want to take a look at that. And then I kind of want to look at some, it was MLK Day yesterday. What comes with that is usually some pretty shady discourse. One thing about sucks always about having glasses, whenever there's that like one little like speck that doesn't want to come off of them. And then hopefully I got it now. And then we're going to jump over to see I guess Steven Crowder learned about a little capitalism going on. So then we'll talk about that. So and we'll just kind of go from there. So let's just get right into it. Let's just go right into it. So, Andrew Callahan, HBO documentarian, channel proprietor of the Channel 5 news channel on YouTube. Also possible monster, possibly. I think we talked a little bit about Andrew before. It seemed a lot of his activity was if I'm being as absolutely as charitable as possible, bordered on rape, and kind of sits somewhere in the shady what's the word I'm looking for? Shady consent verification. So let's take a look. We've all probably heard the stuff. I just want to see his response. I've heard his response is not great, so I just want to take a look, just for due diligence sake.
All right. I never thought I'd make a video like this, but I think there's an important conversation to be had, and I just want to be fully accountable, honest, and transparent with all of you guys. So I'd like
okay.
start by thanking every single person who's came out in the past week to speak about different ways in which my behavior has made them feel uncomfortable or pressured during a sexual situation, and to people who said that I've made unwanted advances and had a hard time with rejection. I'm sure this was not easy to do. It's never easy to speak out, and it was hard for me to hear as well, because to be honest with you, up until this point, I didn't even really realize that I had this pattern that had affected multiple people. I'd also like to...
So, just let him finish. I'll let him finish.
For my silence. I think that when this stuff first came out, I was in a state of denial and shock. I was, just riding the high from my movie that just came out, and then within 48 hours, I was denounced by my closest collaborators, and my name was printed in 40 different news outlets.
Come on, man, stop! Don't do this! Don't do this!
Spiraled into a mental health crisis. I'm okay now, but I don't really think this is about me. This is about the people that I've affected. So I just want to express my complete sympathy, respect, and support for anyone who I've done wrong by. And I really want to do better and be fully accountable for everything that I've done. So that being said, I want to make a few things clear. I've always taken no for an answer. As far as consent, I've never overstepped that line.
Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of the problem. This is, I mean, I don't, look, this is the problem. This is the problem. Because Andrew is working from a very, I think, shallow reading of the situations that he was in, but also this very black or white reading of kind of these relations. This is sort of a problem I find where like people want to do, or at the very least, you know, they kind of want to obfuscate certain aspects of a situation in terms of like this one by doing the like, well, if somebody were to say, oh, it was a cat. If somebody were to say, like, no, then that would be, then I would like stop, right? But the problem is if you are approaching these relations with, already, with a, I guess, history of needing this really explicit, really it's kind of like the do we gotta spell it out for you, man? Like it was very obvious from a lot of the stories that Andrew would not get a no, but he would get a not right now. He would get a whatever answer, and it would just kind of be this like continual like attempt to not get a no, but also like not get like, it's like you don't get a yes and you also aren't getting a no. It's approaching consent in this very unhuman way, at least in my opinion. It is damaging, and it leads to you at the end of the day acting this kind of way and then being confused, being surprised as to why people are wondering that about you. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
but I think I want to have a more nuanced and important conversation about power dynamics, pressure, and coercion.
I'm also
Because,
worried that he's looking
like I said,
at this as
for a long
like
time, I was behaving in a way that I actually thought
a person who might try to
I thought that
turn this incident with him into his next
I thought that
documentary to kind of roll the, I kind of worry about that.
They're playing hard to get. Just try harder.
Yeah. Right. That wasn't, yeah, that I heard it wasn't much of an apology. Look, when it comes down to it, what Andrew was demonstrating was I think, willful misunderstanding of consent and a willful desire to shirk that in the most in the most advantageous way. At the end of the day, if you can pretend to draw the lines in a different direction, or pretend to draw the lines between what would constitute a rape and what wouldn't, and you kind of try to play within these boundaries, you're gonna get burned, man. Like, look, I think everyone needs to get a little, this is a situation also that I think is like a fellas need to read the room a little bit better. And like, and that's something that, I don't know what I'm not sure what the systemic kind of approach to this is, but this is, I think the situation with Andrew is a good lens to kind of look at how we approach consent and how we also not fall into the trap of kind of viewing consent in this binary and this very black or white reading. And hopefully, we can, hopefully there's some discourse or some discussion that can be had from that. I don't think this is also kind of, I'm not gonna lie, this is also kind of the thing I wonder is like, Andrew mentions that he wants to talk about the nuances and the this and the that. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really think, I'm really skeptical of the idea of somebody who's been accused of this stuff then trying to pretty much roll that into the next kind of career avenue for him. It's a little, it doesn't feel incredibly great, doesn't feel very clean, feels a bit dirty, feels a bit I think bad faith. I think it's very opportunistic. Overall, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this apology. This is, obviously he doesn't come out and, say that he did the things he did. But or like, and we're never gonna know. Like that's also the thing. We're never gonna know. Exactly how each one of these cases worked out. You can only really infer any of this from the number of stories that we've heard and kind of the, I guess, reputation he had built up. So, while it's, while he deals with, I think he's thinking about the legal end of things. I think more broadly, we need to be thinking about kind of how to respond to this and how to pretty much approach this in a way, and how to talk about this stuff and how to communicate, obviously communicate what proper consent is. There are YouTubers that I think do a good job of this. I don't have any at the top of my head. I kind of added this at the last minute, but at the end of the day, we do need to get better about this stuff. But we'll kind of, hopefully this is the last time we'll be talking about this story. Not really, because I don't, half of it, I think I said, when we first read the first one, is you never like doing these stories, and you don't. They're not fun stories to do. People who have been traumatized, people who have disappointed you. But overall, I mean, look, there's a lot that we need to be doing. I don't have all the answers or even really purport to have all the answers, but there is a broader and deeper understanding we need to have around consent, I think, as a species, quite frankly. Certainly as a nation. But anyway, on to more I don't know about happy, but certainly something. So MLK Day was yesterday, and there was a, shall we say, interesting statue that got put, that was commissioned. I believe it was in, let me double check real quick. I don't think I even have, what state is this in? Let's find out. I don't remember what state this is in. MLK statue. Let's see. Right, Boston. Yeah, so up in Boston, I guess they put up this MLK statue, and it's something.
A monument meant to honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife Coretta Scott King's legacy, facing some backlash. The Embrace, it's called the Embrace. The statue was unveiled Friday at Boston Commons.
What the fuck am I looking
King
at?
gave a speech back in 1965. It was inspired by a photograph of the couple hugging after Dr. King won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 1964. So look at the hands in the picture and then look at that. The art piece designed by conceptual artist Hank Willis Thomas only features a couple's arms during the embrace and not their heads, which has sparked a mixed reaction.
Wait, okay. I saw like pictures of this, but I didn't really like, I didn't like, synthesize. What? It's just his arms? Huh?
It's not the missing heads that's the atrocity, although people glam onto that. It's a stump that look like a penis. That's a joke.
Look at this. Look, YouTubers. I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
no.
that looks like a giant penis right there.
Oh,
Sorry,
no.
it does.
I think the artist did a great job. I'm satisfied, but it represents something that brings people together.
Oh,
Not sure we played some of
no.
that because it's just obviously trolls. But listen, joining us now is conceptual artist behind the statue.
Oh, no. Look, I know art is subjective, but in a world where we lived with accurate Confederate statues all over the South and Midwest and some places in the North, no, can we just, maybe this is a crazy can we just do a statue of MLK? That's it. We don't just do a statue of both of them. We didn't need this. Oh no. No. Okay. Well, I'd love to hear this explanation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hank, how are you?
Welcome
Great
to
to see you. I got to tell you, I saw the small version and the concept beforehand at a dinner, and I thought it was fantastic. There are lots of people who think it's fantastic, and you don't really care.
I care. 'Cause, I mean, how could you not think about Dr. King, Mrs. King's legacy, and not care? You know, but also when
artists behind
you
him. Okay.
See, you know, I think about the Rorschach test, the inkblot test. You know, what you see says a lot about what you see.
I'll be honest. I thought this was a knee. I thought this was somebody's leg. I thought this was Coretta Scott's thigh for a second. Oh my god. Oh, the statue. Oh, this is no. Oh no, that's no.
The world, and so the work is meant to be gone into. It's a call to action. You go in and be in the heart of their embrace. So what people see online, I can't really control.
I love this because it makes you think more deeply.
Sometimes,
and I love so much focus is on Dr. King and not on her, right? And it's a couple and the importance of that support and power. But also, you see there's so many monuments of the Kings that we don't see them as real people. That was your goal here.
Yeah, I wanted to capture, embody the feeling of love in their relationship. You know, there's a quote that really inspired this piece, and it's from Mrs. King's book, "My Love, My Legacy." But it says,
"We couldn't do that with their heads still there."
Is a realistic vision of an achievable society, one in which problems and conflicts exist, but are resolved peacefully and without bitterness. The beloved community is a state of heart and mind, a spirit of hope and goodwill that transcends all boundaries and barriers and embraces all creation.
I mean, look, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm sorry. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm a big fan of, I really like books, like video game concept art books. I think they're fascinating. You see all the but you know, you flip through them and sometimes you get to those character designs or the monster designs and you think to yourself, that seems cool. Except I'm glad they didn't put it in the game, because I don't know if that would work out really the way they wanted it to. This feels like one of the I get what he's going for, I really do, but I don't know about that, Chief. I just don't know about that, friend.
So the idea of the beloved community that they talked about, that we forget about, is what I was hoping, and I'm hoping. Well, I know whenever I see someone go in, they feel.
What does it mean for you to be able to contribute to their legacy in this way?
It's unbelievable. Boston Commons, the oldest continuously used public space in the country, dating back to the 1600s. You know, to have a monument to descendants of slaves who were inspirational beings who will be known and talked about for centuries and celebrated through this work is something that I'm eternally grateful for.
Okay, so a couple of rapid-fire questions. So you're happy with it?
Oh, over the joke.
There are no plans to modify or change it?
No.
Would you do that if asked?
I mean, by who? I mean, because this is a piece that was selected by the people of Boston, and this is not Hank just came and put something. Thousands of people worked on this. Thousands of people actually put it together, and no one saw this, I would say, perverse perspective. And I mean, to bring that to the King's legacy and to dictate the making of art.
My man just said dick. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. You come on. Look, okay. Look. Let's be clear. Let's be really clear. There is a cohort of people. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. There we go. There is a cohort of people that no matter how this statue ended up looking, we're going to do, going to criticize it, mock it, whatever it was. These were going to be the people that were always going to criticize it. But look, man, I'm not saying it's not well made and that people didn't like it. I just don't know, Chief. I feel like not having like just the arms is just weird. It's a bit odd. This is what happens when artists be artists. Just fine. I mean, look. I'm not a big art guy. I'm really not. It's fine. I'm not saying tear it down. I don't know if it's what I would have put up, but that's just me. I don't get the bean in like Chicago. I don't get it. It's a big fucking round mirror. I don't get it. But I might, maybe I just don't get it. But yeah, it's a thing. What? One second. Apparently something's missing in the home. Be back in a sec. Ooh, then we're gonna get to something fun for a second. Okay. Apologies about that. Ow. Sorry about that. Anyway, where was I? Where was I? Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not I don't know if this is it, Chief. It's not awful. It's not like, the worst. I just why are like I get that it's like this dude's feeling a bit defensive about it because he's like, hey, doesn't look like a penis, god damn it. And it's like, I mean, look, nobody's bringing that into Dr. King's legacy or anything. Let's calm down. It's just, the sculpture from different angles looks a bit funny. All right. But moving from just kind of this artist is explaining his work. I get the idea. I like the concept. All right. I got no problem with that part. But I mentioned earlier, there are going to be people who are going to have, I think, a little bit more strong negative opinions of this than me. One of those people is our resident cultural what's the word, vanguard here, Ben Shapiro. So let's see what Ben was thinking of the statue. I feel like we might agree in that. I'm not 100% sure about it, but let's find out. I'm interested.
Today marks Martin Luther King.
I also keep forgetting I can't even put him at 1.25 because he talks. Okay, let's try. We'll see.
Junior Day. The national holiday was declared in
Holy shit, dude! How do you talk this fast? I literally
1983.
I literally can't.
And every time we have Martin Luther King Day these days, we have a broad scale discussion about
these days
Martin Luther King Jr.'s association economically with sort of the communist left.
Yes, because it's a part of his history that is not broadly taught in the United States. Yes.
Of course, it's not why there's a Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There are many people who have been leftist in America. There's no Eugene Debs Day here in the United States.
Maybe there should be.
The reason that Martin Luther King Jr. Day exists is because, of course, there was an attempt to achieve racial comedy in the aftermath of the 1960s and 1970s. And the idea was that we should pay homage to the idea that we should treat people based on their individual identity rather.
Wait a minute. Are we only is Ben already coming out here with the Martin Luther King only gets his own day because he's black? Wait a minute.
In any case, the reason that Martin Luther King Jr. Day exists is because, of course, there was an attempt to achieve racial comedy in the aftermath of the 1960s and 1970s.
Wow.
And the idea was that we should pay homage to the idea that we should treat people based on their individual identity rather than on their group identity.
No, that's actually not. Is that? Oh, there's a cat now again. He snuck his way in here. Ben, is that why? Is that why we have Martin Luther King Day? Not because he was a legendary and like revered civil rights a leader in a time that was like kind of the end of, at the leading into the Civil Rights Act being passed. Like maybe could that possibly be why he's maybe a really important figure when we talk about especially modern but contemporary American culture? Could it possibly be that Martin Luther King Jr. Was a important figure in modern American history? He's led a civil rights movement that was that actually probably one of the things that made Martin Luther King's movement as big as it was the you might hear sometimes about I think it was I want to say it was Vietnam, but since Vietnam was kind of the first filmed war in the sense that a lot of Americans were updated on like a daily basis on Vietnam through television. An aspect of that kind of what's the word? Technological innovation or like technological touchstone. You could argue same for MLK in the civil rights movement in the 60s. At that time, we're talking about a time where like mass media and news cycles were very different as opposed to like, pre-civil rights and pre-1950s, quite frankly. Dr. King was like a national figure, probably a national figure in a much more ubiquitous way than any other civil rights leader had up until that point. We're talking about somebody who was known by people in fucking Maine and people in California broadly. Somebody who like who had a reach that like for once was transcontinental. So like Martin Luther King Jr. as a like American icon is huge as a person. And when we teach the history of this individual, there are aspects of him that do get lost. Now the reasoning behind why some of those get lost, that might end, where you're, where you think that, where you think the history of MLK should end. While you might say like, oh, well, he's just a civil rights leader. Martin Luther King was not just a civil rights leader. Martin Luther King wrote and spoke about a lot of different topics, the same way basically everybody does now. MLK, as much as he is known for his nonviolent organizing, also a backbone to his critique of the American system was in capitalism. But when you live in a country who is at the time, and still today, quite frankly, very sensitive to anti-capitalist rhetoric, naturally, when you go to teach the history, you might leave that stuff out because, hey, the equality stuff, that's one thing, but we can't challenge the system of capital. That's a whole different can of worms, right? So there's a reason why. There's a very obvious reason why. Martin Luther King Jr.'s economics were not taught. And it's simply because they're inconvenient for the people who would be teaching and the people who want to, use MLK as a touchstone to brand their, businesses or brand their, themselves in a degree. But anyway, let's...
We've
sure,
decided
this will
to do
get
away
better.
with that, as we'll get to in a moment. Boston did unveil what has to be one of the worst statues I have ever seen in my entire life. Is supposed to be of MLK. Is called the Embrace, and it's supposed to be based on him hugging Coretta Scott King. But whoever is the artist decided instead to make it look as though there are hands that are hugging what looks to be a vermicious knid, I guess, from Charlie and the glass elevator.
Okay.
Or
You're
I mean,
such a
that is the
fucking
clean
nerd.
version of what exactly they're hugging right here from particular angles. It's modern art is generally garbage. This is super garbage. It is really bad. Like, they decided to essentially make the statue, for those who can't see it, they decided to make this particular monument headless.
Are they not gonna show the
Martin
statue?
Luther King Jr. has no head. Coretta Scott King has no head. You just see arms that are kind of hugging each other, but you can't tell that they're arms from most of the angles. Here is what it looks like. When this was revealed, by the way, just the kind of gasp by the crowd, like, what in the world? So instead you have this giant, hideous monument in the center
Ben,
of
can you
Boston
show? Ben, can we?
So that's exciting. Here's what it looked like.
The embrace unveiled on Boston Common today, the statue honoring the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott.
Can you pause that for a second? What the F is that? What in the world is that? So from one angle, you can actually see that it is arms, but from the first angle, it does not look like arms.
It just looks like a bundle of random, like, bronze, basically. Like, again, I get the idea. I just don't know.
First angle, it looks like
I don't know.
World
Maybe
garbage.
a few more passes
over
this one.
What is happening right now? So obviously,
the statue
the modern artists
is like,
decided that they were going to.
The statue. You know what this feels like? This statue feels like the Death Stranding of iconic American figure statues. And by that I mean, is Death Stranding a good game? I guess. Is Death Stranding an interesting game? Absolutely. Is Death Stranding a innovative from a mechanics and from a design standpoint? Absolutely. We're talking about a game that's actively not trying to interest you in the ways you've been interested by video games traditionally for easily the past 20 years. The past 20 years since 2000, let's just jump back. For the last 20 years, your input into video games has mostly been action, has mostly been shooting. While there are explorative natures to a lot of games, there aren't that many, especially at the level that Death Stranding came out in, in terms of AAA space. There aren't that many that are going for this very somber, very what's the word? Very explorative, but not in you're exploring because you're trying to collect something. You're literally just traversing a map. And this reverence for pure mystery that game has. Death Stranding is not a game I go back and play a lot, and it's not a game that I haven't even finished it yet, but I'm it's a fairly long game, and it's not the most mechanically engaging in a traditional sense. But from a design perspective, from an art perspective, it is amazing. The art of that game and the designs and the way things are the way the creatures are designed, and kind of the way even the mechanics, you got the little bridge baby thing, and then all the tubes and the little his little antenna to tell you where the enemies are. It's just an interesting game. The whole but my point with this is while I'm not sure this is the best, or even definitely from a traditional standpoint, but is this the best Martin Luther King monument you could have done? I don't know. Is it interesting? It's you're supposed to go and be in between their embrace and feel their love, but they also don't have heads, so it's kind of weird. It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I really appreciated Death Stranding as a video game. I remember playing it the first time. I was I don't know about this. This is odd. And I feel I'm not doing anything, but I know I'm playing the game correctly. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel with this, where it's like, I don't know, but like it's an interesting idea. I can see where your head was going with it, but anyway,
have a message, and the message was that you're going to go inside of it, and you're going to walk around it, you're going to look up to the sky. How about statues that look like things, guys? How about that? Is it too much to ask? Like, I'm fine with a statue
that's
of
what
Martin Luther King. It's a beautiful one over in Washington, D.C. I'm wondering why they decided to go for the headless statue of Martin Luther King as opposed to, the one that had a head.
The headless part is a bit odd to me.
Here?
That's like
Go back to the first angle for a second, when they first unveil this thing. Because, what is that? This right here. It looks as a person is wrestling an anaconda. Bizarre statue. Super weird. By the way, it is worth noting with regard to statues that it'll be about 20 years until the statue comes down. And the reason it will end up coming down is because it will turn out that they will do more review into Martin Luther King's personal life, which was really, really dicey in terms of his treatment of women.
Wait, why does that matter? So this is also one of those things where, like, I guess now we have to get into the politics. Was Martin Luther King a legendary civil rights leader? Yes. Was Martin Luther King a perfect person? No. Look, I don't go, when it comes down to it, what Martin Luther King represented to millions of people absolutely outshadowed what him as a individual from is this person a good person, any of that stuff, like, it's not really like to set this kind of standard is to ask, I think, people from our history, from any of our history, to be perfect, which is just not going to happen. I fucking love FDR, did a lot of great things. Also Japanese internment camps. Not really, creating Social Security, fighting World War II, and then you create Japanese internment camps. It's kind of a balance. And like the dicey relationship that he had with his wife, I think is kind of his business and his wife's business to a good degree. This is always one of those things where I'm like, who was talking about this? Nobody. If you're asking me, like, hey, do you support, if you're asking me or any leftist, like, hey, do you think any of the negative things Dr. King did were good? I'd go, no, those would be the negative aspects of his personality, of his person. I would like us to view people in a three-dimensional way, which also, fun fact, again, Ben mentioned that we don't talk about his economics, which we don't. And the thing is Ben's gonna probably come on here and be like, well, like, Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't like the best guy. He was kind of like an asshole sometimes. He didn't tip well or something. To which I'm like, all right, that's fine. That's not really what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the civil rights movement that he led. That's the thing that we're kind of like interested in, even though that isn't really, I think, from like a individual perspective, we also need to be talking about the rest of him, which is fine. If you want to bring that stuff up, that's fine. I personally am not super interested in it, because at the end of the day, like, the stuff that he did was bad then is bad now, and his economics from then were actually rather enlightening to a lot and still apply to today. So it's like an application thing.
And then there will be questions asked about whether there should be statues to Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, that is the standard, is it not?
I mean, if we're gonna, Ben, if we are going to sit here and do the, hey, Confederate statues are part of our history, I don't even want to hear your your disinterest in MLK statues. The difference between the equality between these two is imaginary, like, not at all the same.
Well, in any case, every Martin Luther King Jr. Day there is an attempt to basically suggest that Americans must accept the entirety of Martin Luther King's agenda in order to achieve what Martin Luther King Jr. wanted for America. Listen, just because we have a holiday celebrating the aspect of Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy that we all agree with does not mean that we agree with the entirety of his legacy. This happens to be true with literally every monument, literally every day of the year. There are many things about George Washington's policy agenda that you and I might not agree with. He was, in fact, a slaveholder. However, his life is worth celebrating because of the things that we do agree with and we think are great and glorious. The same thing is...
Well, it's actually kind of funny. I don't think there's been that big of an argument to take down Washington statues. It's mostly leaders of the Confederacy because they are part of a traitorous regime. That's just kind of how it works.
True with regard to Martin Luther King Jr., but you have an entire commentariat that is dedicated to the proposition that if you celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, then this must mean that you embrace everything Martin Luther King Jr. ever did or said. We'll get to that in just one moment.
No, you should.
One of your goals this...
You should. I don't really... So this is the problem that Ben's having. Ben is a... Let's see, when's the end of this stupid ad? Come on. Oh my God, how much of this is an ad? Okay. Let's like make sure we're...
To live up to the legacy of Martin...
There we go.
You get a bevy of think pieces in left-wing media talking about in order to live in left... So every Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay.
It's their best offer yet.
We'll do this. Anyway, so the problem Ben is having, and this is a problem that like I think a lot of conservatives have when they try to critique the left and leftism broadly. Here's the issue. Conservatives, Republicans, whatever flavor you want to pick, their issue is their worldview is naturally hierarchical, and there is a natural what's the word? Instinct to fall in line. You see this kind of a lot, especially in Republican Party politics. That there's a reason why when Trump won, the Republican Party nomination, people like Ted Cruz, people like Ben Shapiro, who had previously not been in favor of him, then found reasons to, forget about their problems, to forget about their principles, to forget about their deeply held opposition, and fell in line. And the reason for that is because in the Republican Party, in the conservative, mind space, I suppose you could put it, there is a deference to authority, right? What there is not on the left, for the most part, we have two things that we end up actually dividing ourselves on. It's mostly factionalism and a inability to do what conservatives do, which is to fall in line. Overall, for most leftists, there's a real issue with following authority if you have a genuine belief in whatever it is that you believe, right? There's a like knee-jerk, the same way conservatives have this knee-jerk reaction to fall in line, to follow the leader. There is a fairly trackable need for those on the left to rebel against any kind of authoritative voice or stance on something. It's why the left is always breaking into factions, and those factions eventually break up into non-factions, and people end up just kind of scattering into the winds, right? And this is the problem. Ben is approaching this from his own mindset. Ben believes that there is this belief from some leftist on high that says that, oh, well, you need to accept all of Martin Luther King because we say Martin Luther King is good. When in reality, most leftists are like, Martin Luther King's civil rights stuff, really good. His economics, not talked about enough, also really good. And if you bring up what about all this stuff in his personal life, they'll probably look at you and go, as a leftist, I like to look at systems, and I'm interested in the systemic critique. The little personal gripes that I probably also don't think are great aren't really as important to me because they're personal problems. And it's just not that interesting. There's not really a lot you can get from that. But Ben, being the type of person that needs to follow a leader, will get caught up in a lot of that personal stuff and be disinterested in everything else. So like keep that in mind. Like he's gonna do his critique thing, and it's gonna fall kind of flat because at the end of the day, none of us are interested in like Martin Luther King's personal relationship with his wife, because that would be a personal relationship that no amount of fixing a system is going to change or affect. Like the relationship he had with his wife, with the people around him, I'm never really going to know about. I'm never going to know the context. What I want is to see systemic critique and systemic change, because those things will help the most amount of people. So, keep that in mind.
Hurry on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. With Helix, better sleep starts right now. Okay, so every Martin Luther King Jr. Day, you get a bevy of think pieces in left-wing media talking about, in order to live up to the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., we basically have to engage in a woke Bernie Sanders redistributionist agenda.
Yes, there are articles that highlight his often hidden, or at the very least often not talked about economic prescriptions. Yes, that is true.
So
there is an attempt to do that.
Comes courtesy of Esau McCauley, writing for the New York Times, the kind of revolution that Martin Luther King Jr. envisioned. Quote, in 1968, 4 days before he was shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his last Sunday sermon at the Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. It was entitled Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution, and although King doesn't say the word woke, he uses the concept as it was understood by many black folks then, well before the term was co-opted by the political right, to refer to any left-leaning policy it wanted to condemn.
Yes, because you can't actually go ahead and ask any person, ask them what woke is, you will not get the same answer. If you ask a few questions, you're not going to get the same answer anymore. There is no definition of woke that isn't not sleeping. That isn't post sleeping. Woke from a political standpoint doesn't, especially because of the way the right has approached it, it doesn't mean anything.
The sermon is an opportunity to encounter the real King, who is too often obfuscated by politicians who use his legacy to support their own agendas. They contend that King was colorblind, when in fact his policy aims were unapologetically color conscious.
Yes.
Okay, well, if that were the part of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday that we were actually celebrating, okay, but that's not what we're celebrating. If you had asked people in 1983, when this was enshrined into federal law, are they in favor of a national holiday that enshrines the idea of group redistributionism? The answer is no.
Well, obviously, because those are details that people Ben, I don't think you understand. I don't think you're quite getting it. People promote his civil rights rhetoric as a way to obfuscate, this was in the article, his economic rhetoric. There is a reason why there was a large focus on Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech and a almost erasure in terms of the broader politics that he spoke about. And a big reason for that is because the equality politics, at the end of the day, will benefit capital. Black people being more equal, being able to spend just as equal as money, the owner class has no problem with that. They love black people spending money. They love it, absolutely. But you talk about the economics. Ooh, they don't want to hear about raising wages. They don't want to hear about about some of the more radical, quote unquote, stuff that he talked about in terms of economics. At the end of the day, these are like topics that they just don't want discussed. It's the same reason why you don't see a lot of socialists in in government. We lived through what was that fucker's name? I can't remember his fucking name, but pretty much went after people who claimed that they were communists. McCarthy, was that McCarthy? Yes, McCarthy. Yeah. So like we lived through McCarthyism, where homeboy would just target people for holding nominally left-wing economic ideas. They would be actively investigated by the US government. And so we're taught, like, we're living in an era, like during the 1980s, we're living through an era where the prominence of capitalist propaganda was ubiquitous, where like the degradation of socialist ideas, like Social Security as a good example, were being devaluated because of the current Cold War that was going on. We were in a cultural moment where, as much as Dr. King could get away with, the equality speeches, they didn't want to hear. There was no part of them that wanted to hear the economic side of that, because his economics were rather egalitarian. His economics were not the same kind of what's the word? We're not kind of just couched in his racial politics. His economic politics were very much egalitarian and very much pro-worker. But again, if you tell that story, then you have a historical American contemporary figure talking about the same kind of stuff that somebody like Bernie Sanders is now. Imagine how much stronger Bernie's message would have been, or how much earlier it would have taken hold if Americans were introduced to these kinds of ideas through Dr. King back in the 60s. The same, or, even from the 80s on, when he's been enshrined as a civil rights leader, which he deserves to be. But there are elements to his civil rights movement that were economic that just don't get talked about. And there is an effort now in 2023 to bring those to the forefront. That's the reason why they're there. That's the reason why these articles exist, to try and push this stuff and gain some kind of consciousness with people.
There would not have been support
Spark
for that.
consciousness, I should say.
The thing that every school child learns when they are in school about Martin Luther King Jr. is the I Have a Dream speech, right? One of the great speeches in American rhetorical history. That speech is replete with references to the idea that we should all view each other as God's creatures without reference to color. An attempt to backfill that by looking at the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. was economically socialistic does not change the fact that that is not what we are actually celebrating about Martin Luther King Jr. on Martin Luther.
That's true, but it should be. The argument, at the end of the day, like Ben is arguing that we celebrate it for this reason, we should never celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. for any other reason other than the I Have a Dream speech. And that's just fucking stupid. That's just fucking stupid. Don't learn more than exactly this amount. It's anti-intellectual, and it's what's the word? Cowardice. Ben Shapiro doesn't want people hearing more of Dr. Martin Luther King's economics, because he doesn't want them hearing any of that. He doesn't want those ideas to take hold. That's what he's saying. He's just openly saying that.
Luther King Jr. Day. And trying to claim that that is what we are celebrating is silly. Or that that's what we should be celebrating.
Nobody's claiming that.
Because in order to celebrate the part of the legacy we like, we have to celebrate the whole thing. Wrong. We don't have to celebrate his treatment of women, and we don't have to celebrate his socialistic redistributionist policies either.
Why don't we do one of those and not the other? Crazy thought. If I have a choice, see, here's again the thing. Like, at the end of the day, nobody celebrates George Washington for owning slaves in 1776. Nobody celebrates him for that. This is again he keeps trying to draw this like equality between these two things, or try to tie them in that, because you celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s if we were to celebrate his economics, we would have to celebrate his treatment of women. No. What are you talking about? You can celebrate the good things and actively, speak against the bad things. Why don't we just celebrate all the good things and say that there are issues, we don't celebrate those? Crazy thought. Are we not allowed to celebrate more than one thing about anybody? But again, this isn't a real, this isn't really Ben, this is Ben grasping for straws. He's trying to tie MLK's personal history with his economics, which really doesn't have much to do with anything. You would have to make the same argument. Ben would have to make the same argument that we shouldn't celebrate any of MLK's history, any of it, because of the negative aspects of his marriage, right? That's what Ben wants, but Ben knows he can't say that. Ben knows that MLK is at a point that he now is not able to be challenged from a certain lens. At the end of the day, Ben would have called him a radical. He would have denigrated his movement and him as a person back in the 1960s. Ben would have stood against Martin Luther King Jr. because he will claim that MLK is not a perfect guy. Meanwhile, Ben is the type of person who will defend Donald Trump, who will defend Confederate statues. Ben, you're not hiding as well as you think you are. Hate to inform you of that one.
There are a bunch of things about Martin Luther King Jr. that are not worth celebrating, and then there are a bunch of things that are worth celebrating.
One of them being the economics.
However, again, the idea here is that if you really, really want the Martin Luther King Jr. revolution, what you need is a compelling case for reparations based on the debt this country owes its black citizens. By the way, even if you were going to make this case in 1968, like directly in the aftermath of Jim Crow, it's very difficult to make that case in 2023. You're talking about half a century later.
Is it? Have black people done that much better since the end of Jim Crow? Like, are we really going to go with that? Hey, you lived under 400 years of slavery, and then you lived under about another 100 and some change years under second-class citizenship in half of the country? Like, could it possibly be that, black people still aren't up to par because of the historical barriers put between them and the ascension in society? Yeah, that's. I don't think that's. That doesn't really seem that radical of a concept to me.
But, says this columnist for King, waking up is not simply understanding that racism is bad. It is acknowledging that racism created generational wealth for white Americans and robbed black Americans of the same economic boost.
Yes.
The racial wealth gap King highlighted in his sermon not only persists, but according to some studies, is basically the same as it was in 1968. Well, then I have a question. The United States has undertaken the spending of tens of trillions of dollars in social redistributionist schemes, ranging from food stamps to welfare to government subsidized housing.
Wait. Ben. All of the programs that you're naming are not like, you do realize that all the fixes that you're saying, because I know you're doing like we have all these programs that are supposed to help black people in the inner city and in the South to recover from the horrible mistreatment during Jim Crow. But why do we have all these programs then if we need reparations? Crazy thought here. Maybe all of those programs were I don't even want to say half measures. Maybe they were like 1/18 measures that clearly haven't actually done very much besides give black people the ability in the form of food stamps to send money to corporations who continue to pump out unhealthy food for its citizens. Maybe, we've kind of found out that giving people money, just giving them money, is the best way to get them out of poverty. When we just gave people money when they had kids, crazy thing happened. We solved a large percentage of child poverty. It's almost like supplying cash to people and allowing them to save and spend and properly reinvest their money has positive outcomes. It could possibly be that all the programs you're listing in this way are all a bunch of half-ass measures by liberals who are conceding to conservatives like you who want no reparations and no programs and no half-measure programs. It's almost like reparations would just kind of, you know, be a one-size-fit-all, pretty simple, like, all right, let's hand some cash over. Now, the process of reparations is complicated. I don't know if I'd advocate for like a full reparations program. I don't even know what that would look like. But if we're talking about like programs or even formats that would work, it's become pretty clear that all these half-ass, let's build public housing and then like not fucking renovate any of it and like not create proper communities in some of these places, in some of these communities, maybe we just haven't done a very good job at dealing with this. Could it possibly be that, Ben? Could it possibly be that your side of the aisle has been holding us back from actually taking the necessary action to get past this conversation? It seems like you guys just don't want to solve the problem, but also, at the end of the day, it's money that you're like, well, if we spend a little bit of money, then they can stop complaining. So let's just spend as little as we can instead of solving the problem by spending a maximal amount of money. We certainly have it. This is the United States. We certainly have the money.
Government subsidized college admissions policy that is racially discriminatory in nature. And the wealth gap remains. Why is it that wealth gap remains when it has closed for virtually every other minority in the United States?
Wait, was every other minority enslaved? There's kind of a big detail there, my friend. You can't be like, why are Asians doing so well now? Even though they were a discriminated minority. But more specifically, noticeably, the Chinese immigrants that came over here to build the railroad weren't slaves. That's kind of a big detail. It might hold some weight. Being a slave for multiple generations might have caused some damage to your ability to build generational wealth.
The answer certainly has to do some with history, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that you have a 75% out-of-wedlock birth rate in the Black community. You have dramatic educational underperformance in the Black community. Now, you can go back to the original.
Well, wait. These are uncontextualized statistics, which is like, okay, the birth rate out of wedlock, right? First of all, why does it matter? Like, first of all, what part of you being birthed in or out of inside or outside of a marriage, how does that materially change? The only difference that really gets made is parents is the advantages that married couples have in tax filing, but that's pretty much it. So I'm not 100% sure what the out of wedlock birth rate is. As long as parents are in their kids' lives, it doesn't really matter. And more specifically, not even parents, as long as kids have two people in the home, that's kind of all that matters most of the time. Studies have already found that having two parents, regardless of gender, regardless of any other aspects, having two parents in the household is what leads to better outcomes. But in no way does like a marriage marriage is not it does not like put a swords of fucking revealing light around husbands or wives and like force them to stay within the household. I don't know what this is. That has nothing to do with almost anything. It's just a statistic to basically denigrate Black people. Quite frankly, you know, this is just the, oh, look at them, they don't get married. Well, who gives a shit? If people don't see value in the institution that you do, that doesn't really mean anything other than they don't agree with you. And considering the kinds of marriages that a lot of conservatives will advocate for, somebody like Matt Walsh, who, you know, who has no problem with the, you know, like child wives and stuff, like, you know, once they're 16, I mean, you know, according to Matt Walsh, they're good to go. They can get married. The problem isn't that they get, you know, that they get pregnant at 16. The problem is that they're pregnant and not married to some 34-year-old at 16. So, like, you can spare me on this marriage part. Marriage does not have some squeaky clean history. You know, you can spare me on that one. Secondly, if we want to talk about the education of African Americans in this country, then you must talk about the way in which we fund education, which is through property taxes, which, fun fact, if you're not paying property taxes because you live in rental units for, you know, you've lived in rental units most of your life, and currently you're not paying property taxes, which means your schools aren't getting funded the same way. At the end of the day, if you want education to thrive and get better for everyone, you would decouple, you would decouple school funding from property taxes. Is it a wonder that the rich kids have nicer schools than the poor kids? It's rather obvious. They have more income coming in. They have an ability to attract more teachers, and also an ability to pay people better, revamp their facilities. At the end of the day, we all kind of understand this from a, like, you know, Ben would understand this from a capitalist standpoint. If you're not allowed to make more money, you won't be able to reinvest in your facilities. You won't be able to reinvest in your faculty. You won't be able to do any of this stuff. It's not, you know, bringing up the black education rate without talking about property taxes, the way we fund schools. You basically, all you do are arguing that, like, black people are dumb because they're dumb. That's just what you're arguing. You would have had to bring something else for me to not make that claim, but luckily Ben just brought up, oh no, black people just have lower IQs and perform worse in school. So obviously, it couldn't be it couldn't be that they don't have access to the same kind of education that rich kids have. It's only because at the end of the day, do you know like rich black kids? Do they not kind of seem, do they not get kind of what's the word, chastised for kind of fitting in more with the rich white boys? Do you don't know why that is? Because if you have money, if you're rich, I don't even want to say rich, if you come from a wealthy neighborhood, you are naturally going to go to better schools, get a better education. Your acumen will be just as good if you're around, if there's like a black kid who comes from a wealthy family and he goes to a nice school, guess what? He's going to be as well educated as the rest of the white kids at that school. Like, there is no, it's just racist. It's just racist. It's just racist.
Sin here, and you can blame it on the original sin. And that's all well and good. But the decisions that are going to change the trajectory of the wealth gap in the United States are decisions that are made today, not by governments who sign checks. They're decisions made on an individual level to be responsible and to help make life better for your children. That is the story of how groups, generally speaking, rise in the United States. Individual members of the groups, not as groups, individual members of the groups make good decisions. When they make good financial and
is that really the extent of your, is that it we're just moving on. We're just moving on.
Personal decisions.
We're not doing this like everyone just needs to make the right decision.
And when the wealth of their family increases, it increases intergenerationally. This is how you cure the problem.
Also, this is also a subtle way to just kind of continue to forward the white people just must be naturally better. White people are at the top of our society, meaning white people have just always made better decisions. 100% of the time, they've just made better decisions. Individual white people have just always made better decisions than individual black people, which sounds a lot worse when you put it that way, doesn't it?
I'll agree with you about the problem with the evils of Jim Crow and slavery. Of course. And I'll agree with you that obviously puts some groups
that's nice.
behind the 8 ball to start with.
Some groups. A very specific group.
But when you're talking about 2023 and the people who are now experiencing the wealth gap being born 40 years after the Civil Rights Act,
40 years isn't that long, dude.
How do you choose to solve the problem? But
we're not even, there are still people alive who lived under Jim Crow. Like, this is the thing. They always want to do this game of like, it was so long ago. Like, was World War II that long ago? Ben, you're Jewish. The fucking Holocaust happened longer ago than like when the Civil Rights Act passed. But I don't see you coming on any of these, I don't see you over here telling Jews to fucking get over the Holocaust, are you? And I don't see you coming on your platform and going with the classic, Jewish people these days need to take a break from talking about the Holocaust and da-da-da-da-da. It was like, these people were born like, 40 to 60 years after, no. These aren't that old of social hierarchies. Jim Crow isn't that old. We are within 100 years of both of these things. They both still impact people. And what's funny is Ben understands generational wealth. Don't ever fall for this bullshit that Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Steve, any of these guys ever don't understand generational wealth. You know why? Ask them about the estate tax. Ask them how they feel about the estate tax. Because they will say that, don't I have a right to pass on the wealth that I created onto my children? They have a full understanding of generational wealth. The thing that their mission in life is to pass on generational wealth to their children, to their grandchildren. Matt Walsh said it in another video. I don't remember which one, but he went on and on about like, you're the son of your father's father and his fathers before him. They are obsessed with the generational pass down. So don't ever come to any kind of, don't get tricked into thinking they don't understand how generational wealth works. They full well understand that if you are not able generationally to pass down any wealth over multiple generations, you are going to find on average that groups that aren't able to do that don't perform as well economically. So like generational, it's just a fucking lie. They're just lying when they pretend like they don't understand this.
The answer is that we are just going to say that we need to recommend the same solutions that Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Shut up. No, it's not. No, it's not. Ben, we've had fun talking about media. We really have. But, gotta go and ruin it, man. Gotta just go and fucking ruin it. By being a fucking goober. Ay. It really drives me up a fucking wall when people actively pretend to not understand something to make their point. Like, you understood it 20 minutes ago. Stop pretending like you don't understand it. Okay. Anyway. Oh boy. Goodness. Sorry, me. Anyway. So, the House of Representatives, we are now in the 118th Congress, which is going to be led by the majority party, which is the House Republicans. Over the last, I think it was last week. God, the weeks just blur nowadays. Last week, McCarthy was having a grand old time trying to get himself nominated as Speaker of the House, and caught a lot of blowback for some of the concessions that he handed out. So one of them that we heard about was Marjorie Taylor Greene getting to be on the the Oversight and Accountability. The House Committee on Oversight and Accountability and the House Committee on Homeland Security. I guess she put out a statement. I kind of want to read it. I'm just kind of curious, as mainly because she's kind of a psychopath. Let's see. Oversight and Accountability. Oh my God. Quote, one of the key agenda items for the Republican majority in the 118th Congress is oversight. That's why I'm honored to be selected to serve. Yeah, after you sold your vote to McCarthy. Serve on what could arguably be the most important committee in Congress, the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. We will return the role of the Oversight Committee to investigating waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement of the federal government, which is exactly what the American people are fed up with. Cool. Joe Biden, be prepared. Naturally. We are going to uncover every corrupt business dealing. Every foreign entanglement. Okay. Every abuse of power. And every check cut for, all capitalized, the big guy. The fuck is the big guy? I'm super confused now. Wait, is she talking about Hunter? Does she refer to him as the big guy because he has a big dick? I mean, hey, real recognize real, right? And it's not just the Biden crime. Oh my God, she actually writes that. Wow. Imagine writing Biden crime family and meaning it. The GOP majority will investigate every bit of government being used to abuse the American people. Every 3- and 4-letter agency will now have to answer to Republican oversight, not the rubber stamp of Democrat rule. Okay. I can't wait to get started and look forward to my assignment being ratified next week by the GOP conference. Yeah. This will be fun. This will be fun. I'm thinking every week we're just going to get a report on her reading 4chan memes, kind of, in QAnon, just reposting QAnon stuff. Kind of seems like what we're in for. It will be my honor to serve my constituents and the American people on the House Committee of Homeland Security to focus on the security of the United States. Our southern border is being invaded by millions of illegal aliens, criminals, and potential terrorists. It's funny. One of these is just asking for asylum, and the rest are... Well, one of them is conjecture, and the other one is actually really just a reframing of the first one, but okay. Our people are being murdered by Chinese fentanyl flooding in from the cartels. Am I crazy? I'm sorry. Am I insane? Does China make... Of course they make cars. Don't be stupid, Google. Oh, great. Let's see if I know how to spell fentanyl. While Mexico and China are the primary source countries for fentanyl and fentanyl-related substance traffic directly into the United States, India is emerging at the source for finished fentanyl powder and fentanyl precursor chemicals. Dr. Paul Jan's intravenous surgical analogous. The drug is 150 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Because of its strength, the drug was rarely used. Wait, who is this guy? Dr. Paul Jansen. Could this person... Yep. Okay, let's see. Oh, this guy. No, I don't actually know who this guy is. Let me not pretend like I have any idea who this guy is. Let's see. Oh, fun. A pharmaceutical company, which is now a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson. Let's see. Where is Johnson & Johnson located? Oh, look. New Brunswick, New Jersey. Lovely. All right. Woo. Ooh, totally. Flooding into the cartels, our Border Patrol and ICE agents have their hands tied and have been turned into a welcoming committee by the Biden administration. Cyber attacks continue on our nation's people and businesses, along with many more threats to our homeland. Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, McCarthy, you fucking idiot. It's time for accountability. Republicans in charge. We will investigate the Biden administration's violations of our laws and defund. Wait, huh? Our laws and fund and defund programs to defend our border and American sovereignty. Can't wait to get started and look forward to assignment being ratified next week. Oh boy. Impeach Biden in the first introduced. Oh, please. Oh. It's a gold mine. Foreign aid nations who hate us and send their people to invade our land need to be on the chopping block. Wait. Foreign aid nations, who hate, send their, oh wait, so they're sending people, okay, so Ukraine, okay. What does chopping block mean? Oh no. God, if there's ever somebody, you know what I really want? You know what I'm really annoyed by? That I had to hear about, like, pronouns in the bio, yet you put Christian in your fucking bio and I don't hear a word. Like, tell me that your religion is, like, basically your entire identity without telling me. Like, good God. Okay. Ooh. So, it's actually a fun little preview of what we've got next. So, you might have heard, and you probably saw from the name of the stream, Steven Crowder apparently going, is this mask off? I don't know what this is, but it seems like the call is coming from within the house. Steven Crowder went on to, his platform, his very large, how many subscribers, or how many subs do you have? He has 5.9 subs now. And I guess spilled the beans on, big con. Okay, well, let's take a look. Let's hear him out. You know, seem. Steven, I can put at 1.25 speed though. He doesn't talk super fast.
StopBigCon.com now exists to begin with.
I would go check out that website, but
either this,
I'm pretty sure it's like all fucking ads and malware.
Has to stop, or I don't know. This may just not be for me anymore. So let me explain. Give me a few minutes of your time because context matters here. I ask that you don't skip ahead. It won't take very long.
Apparently it took 27 minutes, but okay. Steven, you seem very, very shook by this.
This has been a long time coming. This is a conversation that I've actively avoided, sidestepped, and I've hoped and prayed that it not be necessary behind the scenes for a long while.
There we go.
But that's no longer possible. So if you've watched for the last decade, you know that I've always made it clear that we here at Mug Club are in the business of serving you.
Why does he always call it Mug Club?
The viewer, you watching.
It's because they have mugs?
I've also made it clear that I wouldn't be in the
business. It always sounds like it says Mud Club.
Other conservatives.
I mean, his politics are about getting in the mud.
Of disagreements or personal issues. And I've always explained my logic was relatively simple. I believe that the world was better with more voices out there rather than less, regardless of minute differences, considering the magnitude of the battle that we are genuinely fighting for our country right now. But for the first time, I have to say,
why are you guys always at war?
I believe many of those in charge.
Aren't you all tired?
In the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country. We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting the media, entertainment, industrial complex.
He's going there.
We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech.
Well,
but too many of those.
Well, okay. So, has Crowder finally come to the realization that that in pursuit of what I'm looking for, in pursuit of increased profits, in pursuit of increased growth, that creators who talk about free speech, especially on the right, are taking the same kind of money that they've been. Oh man, this is amazing. Crap. Let's give it up for a second. But that's all. He doesn't get that much credit. But okay.
Charge.
Okay.
Of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them.
Right. Because they're in bed with everybody.
Big Con.
Yes.
The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been.
He seems really heartbroken.
Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals
what?
In this video.
You fucking coward.
Hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. It's never too late to do the right thing.
That's some cowardice shit right there.
This is a genuine plea. We can all do better. We can all do better. It doesn't have to be this way. And please, don't make me have to provide receipts.
Oh, no.
And to the others out there who have now been able to verify, have been locked into exploitative contracts that I have the luxury of not having to sign, which is why I'm doing this. Those of you out there who've been locked into this, and you know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned.
Is it T when it's conservative T?
So
I guess it would be,
there are 3
right?
points to address. Now, many,
is it?
Many,
it feels
but
more
not
like
all of the suits
bitter,
running the business of big conservative,
unsugared, uncreamed
don't
coffee.
Share your values, and at worst are taking advantage of your good graces. And as I've experienced it behind the scenes, I've watched our country be harmed.
So, first of all, you're Canadian. Fuck off. I'm a bit confused here because at first I thought Steven was like talking about, how do I put this? Like, he's not talking about viewers, is he? Like, he's really just talking about other content creators is kind of the, like, it doesn't seem like he's been, we'll just keep going. Okay.
As a result. So Mug Club. Professionally, it's meant everything to us here. Personally too, but professionally, you are the entire reason for your ability to create this kind of content truly independently for the last 6 years. When I started doing, right-leaning, like comedy entertainment videos in 2009, maybe it was 2008, I really didn't have a plan. I didn't know the blueprint because there was no blueprint. I didn't know the ceiling because no one with this kind of content had ever really even tried it. It was you, Mug Club, you watching, supporting, who created the ceiling, and you made it clear that all of you were going to keep raising it. All I knew back then was that I was a conservative, I was a Christian, and there was nothing out there for someone.
And a Canadian. You're not American, you asshole. Stop trying to pretend you're American.
Someone like me, not on cable, not on radio, certainly not on YouTube. And back then, that was really the only.
Oh my God, he's like
platform.
shaking.
Live streaming wasn't really even a thing. All I wanted to do was to set out to create the kind of content, the kind of show that I always wished had existed when I was growing up. And I hope that there would be enough of you out there like me. Here's the thing. I was told that there weren't. I was told by the powers that be that you didn't exist. I was told that the only way to make a living in this business was to cater to older conservative generations, and that comedy, that entertainment,
oh my God, he's going
edgy,
there.
quote unquote content didn't work on the right side of the spectrum.
Oh my God. Wait, who the fuck told you that? You believe them? Crowder, your side houses the Nazi, like the online Nazis. Please spare me.
An entertainment show would never work. You, all of you, are the only reason that we here were even remotely vindicated. And Mug Club sealed it. I remember exactly where I was when I thought up the idea of Mug Club. I remember who I was with. I remember what I was eating. I remember why. I could see the writing on the wall back then, the big tech censorship on the horizon, the diminishing advertising revenue day by day, and I knew full well that demonetization
because money,
it was inevitable.
Wait. So Steven Crowder's like, what if we started our own subscription service to avoid having to go to YouTube's AdSense algorithm to make money? Yes, Steven, welcome to content creation. Since like what, basically since Crowder started, since like 2015 or so. Like, yeah, like you kind of needed, like, rather quickly on, as YouTube became a platform that was going to be at the discretion of advertiser dollars, this was inevitable. you know, YouTube was always going to eventually, you know, fall into this role. So yeah.
But I wasn't really sure that this would work. At that point in time, getting anyone to subscribe to anything was pretty much impossible. Everything on the internet was basically free except for pornography. Even, you know, Netflix, the only player in the space at the time, between shipping DVDs of Poltergeist 3, they were struggling with online streaming.
Not American Psycho 2?
I found a great partnership back then, a partnership with a company called CRTV, which later purchased The Blaze and used that name going forward. And on election night, 2016, so many of you signed up that the back end of our site crashed. We couldn't handle it. And it only grew from there.
Right.
Now, I want to be clear about something. This video here, it's not about The Blaze. When they were purchased by CRTV, the company's goals, their vision, simply grew further apart from mine, from ours here. It just wasn't the right fit. Yeah, you know, I wasn't thrilled about some things and the, you know, handling of Mug Club leaving, and that's why, you know, we launched mugclubforever.com, where you can sign up just to be able to reach you. This really isn't about that, so I want to create some separate.
So Stevens, okay, so what you're telling me is Stevens finally understood the, like, system of capital ownership and the way that, like, actual creators are hamstrung by the systemic deference toward larger ownership. Like, is he finally coming to this realization of, like, you know, I didn't, you know, I wasn't, you know, I hadn't thought about, like, you know, the way we let companies buy other companies and merge, and now I'm affiliated with a company that doesn't, that I now have a contract with, and, you know, it's, you know, they're offering me, you know, their platform, their suite of like, you know, features, of audience retention tools, all the rest of this stuff. Like, yes, dude, this stuff isn't public information. A lot of, especially like the demographic information and any of that stuff isn't even public for regular people. Meaning the people who hold the ability for you to grow a platform, by and large, is held by much larger companies. When it comes down to it, the little guys have to end up working with the big companies, because that's the only way that you can get certain distribution. It's the only way you're going to get certain you know, sponsorships, which will give you you know, revenue to work with. Like, yeah, like, you know, it's kind of how capitalism works, my man.
Separation here. Business relationships end all the time. That's business. But I was in a period to field offers from other people, other key players in this movement. They flooded in. Now, before you guess who it is,
naturally,
before you start trying to do some Sherlock Holmes work, there are far more people beneath the tip of the iceberg than you know about who are trying to get into this space. There are more than you would probably assume. So I went into free agency. I looked over the offers.
Is this just like a public contract dispute?
And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech.
Yes.
And that's something that I just couldn't unsee. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's
yes. Yes, because at the end of the day, these companies are beholden to advertisers, which means they're beholden to whatever platform they're currently on. Like, you know, you can be on CRTV all you want, but they're going to censor you on their YouTube channel because YouTube has shareholders, and YouTube has not even just TOS. YouTube has advertisers that they need to keep happy.
Rule, kids out there coming up. We need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts. I now know.
Exploitative. Wow.
I have the luxury of not having to.
Steven Crowder.
I don't have to be here. I don't have
finally
to
understanding exploitative contract relations between
professional legal counsel representation. Do not sign something
between powerful capital owners and regular workers.
Effectively.
Wow! Holy shit! He is just wow. Okay.
All your social media platforms, channels, in perpetuity.
Merch rights. Blank will maintain an exclusive right to create and sell Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise. All remunerations. God damn it, I fucking hate legal speak. For the blank and exploitation. Is that exploitation? Yeah, it is. Of these rights is included in the fee. Blank will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the terms. Jesus. Social media, you will have exclusive right. Blank will have exclusive right to manage, curate, and monetize Crowder's official Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts during the term. Additionally, Blank will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, and monetize any of the Jesus. This is, understand this, these kinds of contracts are exactly. This is most likely this is only a snapshot, but this is what I would probably describe as a they get used in like kind of the music industry as well. A 360 deal, which is to say, in a 360 deal, basically you are you sign a contract with like a record label or whatever. They give you money to create your album and like spend money on creating a tour, maybe whatever it is for however many albums, right? But what happens is they end up owning not just the sales from your album or even the streaming money that you make from your album. They also recuperate money through all other related sources that you basically get income from. So as a good example, if you're like let's say you're like a rapper, right? You put out an album summer of 2023, right? You put that out, it makes its money, the label is giving you money to create that album. Maybe you go on tour with that album, it does well. But at the same time, you also have a deal with, I don't know. Let's go with the one that was in the news most recently. You have a deal with Balenciaga, right? You have like a fashion deal, right? You get paid you get paid however much of that you get paid. In a 360 deal, you would not be able to contract with a fashion house, with any other company without first going through that label and them taking a cut of that money. Because the argument is that you are making money through new connections off the back of your music career to which they own the rights of, in which they are funding. So it's seen as revenue that they have some kind of right to. It's how a lot of artists end up like, maybe they'll have all these, maybe like 5 different kinds of deals of different flavors, whether it be video games, a fucking McDonald's meal or whatever, but somehow do not see the full worth of those deals. And it's because the labels end up being able to take over stuff like their social media accounts or anything like that. Same with merchandise. So like if you signed with like a clothing brand, they made if they made like a shirt for you as a rapper, obviously the clothing company is going to get a cut, you're going to get a cut, but the label needs their cut because they have the exclusive rights to create merchandise with your likeness. So these are really predatory, very, very predatory deals. You see a lot of them in the music industry.
The rights to your content name,
fucking
image,
labels, man.
likeness.
Never trust labels, never trust
even the ones that you built.
Any of these sorts of management companies.
Don't
ever
sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is.
Jesus Christ. Actually, go back to that really quickly. If Crowder fails for any reason to deliver 192 episodes of the daily show, including any and all ad reads and something promo reads approved and deemed satisfactory by the company, $100 reduction reduction in fee per instance. For clarity, anytime Crowder misses a single episode of the daily content without written, and the fee will be reduced by Jesus. Monthly, quarterly content. Crowder fails to deliver monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in any quarter, including any and all ad reads. Jesus Christ. Promote reads. Company $250,000 reduction. Jesus. Annual content. Crowder to fails any. Jesus. $1 million reduction. Christ above. Fee reduction calendar resets each year. Makes sense. Disability in the event of temporary disability, serious injury. Right, which is basically if you got hurt, then obviously.
The quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads. And by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5.
I mean, this is contract law, man.
Change what this
is what happens when so few people hold keys to being able to build these kind of media. Just being able to build a platform for yourself.
We did do everything per quarter, but annually, maybe miss something. Like, let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work. It'd be a separate $1 million penalty.
Sheesh.
For that if you miss a single piece of content.
Jesus.
And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney. It's worse than ABC. It's worse than NBC. It's worse than CBS. This is ownership of you and everything that you do. But here's...
No. That is 200% how those companies work. Like, that is how these companies work. That's how a lot of these companies work.
Just to drive it home.
Contract law is always in favor of the larger entity.
$100,000 daily penalty if it's not signed off on beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day.
No. It said you get out of it for that.
Hey,
that was at the bottom. Read your contract.
Anyone wonder why?
Crowder, read your fucking contract. It said that at the bottom. Read your contract.
You have kids come up and they leave and never to come back. You think if you had that kind of a penalty, you think if someone said, "Hey, we're going to penalize you $10,000 every day you miss coming into work," you think you'd be stressed? This is worse.
Wait. Crowder. I don't know if you know this. Maybe you haven't worked in the real world, but if your job doesn't offer you sick time or PTO, that is how it works. You can't show up. You don't get paid. Like, especially if you are like, if you're like making like an okay amount of money, but like obviously you have bills to pay. Like, yeah, that's kind of how the world works for a lot of people. For most people, you're sick, get fucked. You don't have sick time, get fucked. There goes any of your pay, or at least that percentage. Like, yeah, that is kind of how it works in the real world. It's fucking brutal.
Their contracts. Again, of course I didn't sign any of these things. But I now know what other kids are signing out there. And here's the worst part.
If you're big enough, you can not sign them. But yeah,
I just think that's wrong to treat people that way. But
whoa, I can't believe we agree on something.
In going through this, and I need to take some time because, look, I've always tried to be a happy warrior, and I want to go back to that. I haven't been happy for a while.
Oh, you could have fooled me.
I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes, and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness. It really does.
Because they're in search of capital.
With you, fighting for you,
they're trying to make money at the end of the day.
Here's the worst part. Do not, kids, under any circumstances, sign a contract with people who claim to be conservative, but will penalize you 25% for any demonetization or sponsor boycott. Look, let me read this to you. If any of the major platforms, that's the second one. Let me go back to the first one. There's another 20%. It's 45% if you get a content strike. Let's start with the demonetization. If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners, the company is not able to replace them within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%. That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work. They work on our guys.
Yep. That's why we do boycotts. Which, quite frankly, I got no problem with boycotts. Boycotts are absolutely a valid way for consumers to voice their opinion. Now, the contract that you sign, if that boycott, doubles down or piles onto that, that's again, these contracts are absolutely fucking they're predatory. That's what they are. But he is right. You need to be very careful for any contract you ever sign. That goes for credit cards. That goes for anything. Anything that is a contract, you need to be aware of what's in it. And be very clear-eyed about what's in it. Now, I know not everyone has access to lawyers. Most people won't have to deal with, media rights contracts. But like, this stuff can get rather important because at the end of the day, they're investing in you and they're looking to get a certain amount of money out of you. And if they don't, then they'll pass that along on to you.
We'll punish them for you. Let me go on. Specifically, YouTube demonetization. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%.
And most likely,
now, I thought this
and most likely they'll just tell them you need to take that part out of the video.
was a mistake.
That
because,
is what
these
will
people
happen.
didn't know who I am, that we've been demonetized for 3 years. No, it was made very clear to me in no uncertain terms. This is what's sent out to everybody. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20% reduction. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. Imagine you're deplatformed, as we've seen in the past, where all of the major entities decide to remove you in one day. Rather than having a conservative alternative, you would now be down to 5 to 15% of the revenue of your contract. Think about this for a second.
Man, imagine all these long pauses and we're at 1.25 speed.
The big conservative, the big con, and it really is the biggest con going right now. They're making it known in their contracts.
We gotta brand this.
They will enforce the guidelines of big tech and punish conservatives.
Yes.
On their behalf. Don't worry, Wojcicki. Trust me, these
because
conservatives
money.
will stay in line.
Because
if they get demonetized, we take away 25% of their operating budget.
Because money.
Take another 20% away if they get a hard strike. Hey, don't worry, Zuckerberg. We've got your back. Hope to see you at the UFC Apex. Let me ask you, can you imagine?
This is also where Crowder has it incorrect. The thing that Crowder's reading this, I think, in a way that's like really personal to a degree, where he thinks that it's like Zuckerberg and big tech that wants to like Zuckerberg, big tech, anything that's big tech. Understand that the forces of big tech bear down on people because of advertisers. That's why. Because there are people who buy ad space on Facebook, ad space on YouTube, ad space on Spotify, ad space on Apple. These are now platforms, not unlike television, where they are going to be saturated with money from advertisers. And with that comes an obligation to deliver profits and deliver value to those advertisers. Now, the content you create needs to be, sanitized enough so that advertisers don't catch flack for appearing next to your channel, right? And this isn't conspiracy. There isn't. Where Crowder's getting it wrong and where it feels like he's flailing against, the entire world is a misunderstanding, or at the very least, an inability to understand the system. This is how capitalism works. At the end of the day, capitalism is going to push companies, is going to push firms, is going to push everybody toward whatever makes them the most amount of money. The dogged pursuit of growth and growth of value for shareholders, for advertisers, for the company will put money and the ability to make money in front of morals, in front of ideology, in front of values, in front of all of that stuff. This is not a system that's built on human good. It's not a system that's built on a human benefit. This is not a system that's built on the betterment of society, the building of communities. This is a system simply built and intended to make people money. Money. That's the only thing. They don't care about your they care about your 5 million subs because they want to sell them shit. But if they can't sell things to your 5 million subscribers, guess what? They're out the fucking door. They're not interested in you anymore. If you're not making them money, Crowder, they're not interested. And that goes for everybody. That goes for leftists, that goes for conservatives, that goes for everybody. This is the system we live in. It's a system that's not interested in betterment. It's just interested in growth, in growth value, in making more money. That's it. Starts and ends at money making.
And if this show not only was never permitted to take risks per our contract as it relates to big tech guidelines, like as far as the content guidelines, right? There's content guidelines and there's advertiser guidelines. Can you just imagine a world where this show could never take risks in relation to those guidelines on, say, things like mRNA injections, election integrity, take your pick. But one step further, if this show had to be advertiser friendly on YouTube, those guidelines pretty much read, don't say anything offensive ever. Well, what's offensive? Whatever is stuck in Susan Wojcicki's craw that day.
It is going to be whatever the hegemonic view is. This is true. Now, sometimes that's a good thing, like not spreading vaccine misinformation. I don't want you to spread vaccine misinformation. From the right, a lot of this ends up being, oh, I can't say that, I can't say that that the vaccines don't work, and I can't say that, I don't know, Biden stole the election. What the fuck, right? You can't say those things on the right. You're gonna get dinged, and in this case, whatever company is investing in you can't make money, and they'll ding you, right? On the left, it's complete opposite. You can't talk about capital. You can't talk about you can't challenge certain power structures. At the end of the day, like, leftist content is not favored in the algorithm because at the end of the day, it's constantly challenging the power centers of capital ownership. So naturally, you're not going to see a lot of people make it super far in that regard. The deck is stacked against anybody pushing for any strong value that isn't going to make whoever's at the top a lot of money and keep the hamster wheel spinning exactly how it is right now.
I wish those at the top in big conservative, with, granted, a lot of the money, wanted to do better.
They just don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
That's why.
They'd like to make money.
StopBigCon.com, and you can be a signatory, and our plans therein. Look, like I said, I have the luxury of not signing this. I don't need it. I've been demonetized for years. We've adapted here precisely because of Mug Club. The free content only exists because of those who subscribe. I promise you we won't do more than one sponsorship spot per show. I will keep my word on that until this show ends.
It's fair. I can respect that.
It's designed for you. It's not designed for the sponsors. If it's 4, 5, 6, 7 sponsors, they're no longer the product. You're the product. So we've adapted here. I don't need this. We've been demonetized, and we're not beholden to sponsors.
I don't know how he didn't come to this realization earlier.
Wherever we go anyway.
This is how it's been for ever, basically.
That's the luxury of doing business honestly and loyalty. But to the kids out there coming up who don't have that luxury, please don't sign these. You can do better. We can all do better. And the only reason at this point,
and all do better if we just all individually do better.
What I've been doing is to make sure that we all do. That we all do better. So to everyone out there who refuses to sign or is under the cloud of these maybe not entirely enforceable contracts, look, here's your signal. Water's warm here. I'll produce your show. We'll produce your show.
We're going to speed it up just to kind of
transition
move it along.
Club into a full-scale network with independent content creators who don't want to be locked into slave contracts. Look, I understand business relationships sometimes fall through. People don't see eye to eye. I get that. But there is a way to structure these contracts and a network. There's a world in which contracts and a network exists where everyone benefits with some semblance of fairness.
It's almost like we need contract reform. Welcome, Steven Crowder. Welcome to contract reform.
Transparency. There's no need to be enslaved like this. If you're out there right now and you're making content work on whatever scale that may be, there are levels to this game. I understand that. And you'd like to have some backup. You'd like to have some brothers, sisters, Z's, and arms, some security without losing your shirt. Send your email to creators@louderwithcrowder.com and we'll talk. You want a partnership? Great. Can probably work something out. You want the security of being an employee? You'll probably make that work too. There are many ways to skin this cat. And you know what? If Mug Club or whatever network it becomes isn't for you, if this isn't the right home for you.
So Crowder, you know you're going to run up against the... So the thing is, this is the thing. This is also where Steven is a little short of what's needed in this moment. Steven understands that contract law, that these sorts of contracts are bad. Bad from a value-added standpoint to creators, and bad in terms of the ability to message organically to an audience, right? He understands that those things are bad. Is he suggesting reforms? Is he naming names? Is he taking any action that will, that will systemically change this system to incentivize more moral contract law in these terms? He's not. He's just not. What Steven Crowder is suggesting for people is that he'll be different, and that he's now going to start his own organization, his own network, to do what these companies do, but do it with a value center. Now, if you've ever held a job before, I'm sure you've heard all about almost every workplace you've ever worked in and about their core values, right? Now, let me ask you something. When it comes down to it, do you want to know what the other thing, maybe I'm the only one in this camp. Do you know what the other thing I've heard from the same people talk about values? I hear a lot of, well, this is a business. We need to make money to do this, do that, to fund this, to fund that. So what Steven is suggesting is fine. Good for him for taking up the mantle, and at the very least, so far, at this moment, at least stepping forward and saying, I want to create a better way of going about this, right? But that's a little short for the moment, no? Because at the end of the day, whether this works or not, whether Crowder actually makes this company or this network he's talking about or not, these contracts will still exist. These contracts will still be predatory. These contracts will still be out there, and there will still be people who get screwed out of, whatever position they want to get to. This is the problem with only having individual solutions. Because Crowder sees the problem with the system, but apparently doesn't quite have the courage or doesn't have the mindset, maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but does not have the wherewithal to understand that what he's railing against has nothing to do with just having one company that's just better. He mentions doing better business is better for, which that's true. But what do you do for everybody who's not in? Not everybody can be part of the Crowder network. Not everybody can be part of that network. Guess what? There's going to be, are we going to see a world where it's Crowder's little network versus something like Daily Wire? How do you think Daily Wire functions? What do you think Daily Wire, how much content they push out of in their network? These are businesses. Their goal is to make money. So Crowder's going to find out very quickly that even his solution is going to be rather difficult, because the system that he's operating in is not one that's going to favor him and favor his values. He's got an uphill battle.
We have lawyers and representation who will negotiate your contract for you with anyone else out there. at half the market rate. Why? Because I don't like this, and I'm going to end this. We all need to end this together. I have plenty of friends. I could use a few enemies. There is strength in numbers. And if you, watching right now, if you want a network that you can truly call your own, I just ask that you enter in your email at stopbigcon.com. Entering in your email makes you a signatory. It's a statement that you want, not just Mug Club, but you want a network that does better. So
this is how this
it's either
is
time for
if
Mug
you
Club to go big, or it's time for me to go home.
If you don't like contract law and the capitalist framework of how we think about contract law, then you should go sign his thing. He's not wrong.
I can change this all by myself. I really can. And frankly, swimming upstream with just this one show, it's a futile endeavor. So either Mug Club grows and you start setting the standard for this movement. We right this ship, or you know what? I'll go back to doing maybe occasional videos, stand up. I don't need to do this. It's that simple. My life would be less complicated.
Man, what a pitch.
I just want you to think about this for a second. There's a reason that if you felt this way, let me put it this way, and I've heard feedback from you. If you feel...
Crowder, why don't you just challenge the system? Challenge the contracts. Challenge the way that they approach partnerships with creators. But, you know.
Feel in your gut that a lot of conservative content out there feels homogenous, feels sanitized, feels like they're missing some key points.
Sanitized.
There's a reason
Sanitized.
There's a reason that you
Matt
know.
Walsh exists.
You often find yourself
there
asking,
isn't enough
I wonder why
sanitizer in the world.
why. And I don't know. Any contract that I would have signed would have turned this into yet another softer radio show on video, littered with live reads for every sponsor that could be crammed into every single episode possible.
Like gold.
The sketches, the change my mind type segments, the spontaneity, the levity that's made this show exactly what it is. Oh, and by the way, I was told would never work by the same powers that be. And the real reason the stakes are so high.
And they tell you that it never's going to work because
specifically, look,
it doesn't benefit them for you to not do
in case of emergency
ad reads.
To start a network and to actually start helping people out there who don't enjoy the same luxuries that we do of being independent. Either that's my role moving forward, or this isn't for me. And here's the thing: all at once,
I think Steven should send me money. That's what should happen. Steven, send me money to fund the show.
It kind of hit me, and I had to take some time. I hope you understand.
I'm independent.
To really pray and contemplate this, and it hit me after all of these years, even after all this time, after all of you have voted with your dollar, and your viewership and your support, you've shown what's possible in supporting this, the largest show in the conservative movement, bar none. Just to be clear, and I don't often advertise that. I don't lead my show with that. I want the content to speak for itself. But I also realize that you need to understand you're a part of something bigger than maybe you realize. It's the biggest show in the movement, bar none.
Not wrong. He does have
election night on Rumble, bigger numbers than any mainstream show on YouTube. That's significant. That's you. Well, I'm grateful.
Steven Crowder does have a massive audience. 5 million subs is nothing to blink at.
Well, false humility does you a disservice. But even after all this time, after all of you have voted with your dollar, with your viewership, with your support, after you've set records, it wasn't, and it's not, I should say in the present tense, it's not that the suits in charge of these places, BigCon and these sites, these media companies, it's not that they still believe that this show can't work. It's not that they any longer believe that you don't exist. Those at the top, those pulling the strings in BigCon, are bothered precisely by the fact that you do.
No, Crowder, no. They're bothered. They don't want their look, BigCon, the advertiser friendly conservative thing you're talking about, they just don't want $5 going to your Patreon or your website, my dude. That's it. They want those people's $5 going onto Amazon, going onto wherever, going onto fucking blackrifle.com and buying their coffee. Not subscribing, not paying for a Steven Crowder membership. That, at the end of the day, is the goal. They do not want you making $5 if they're not gonna make $5 as well. Like they're just not interested in it. Like, you can have a Patreon or whatever. I'm assuming he has a website that you just subscribe to, but they don't want that. They don't want your audience going to your website to then buy a subscription to your site for, I don't know, let's just say $5. I don't actually know what it would be. For $5 and then not spending $5 on, I don't know, fucking dick-shaped candy or something. Like that they aren't interested in you making money. They're interested in you making money only if they make money as well. And if they make almost as much, if not in actuality more.
They don't want a group of rebellious rabble-rousers who want to learn, fight like hell, and laugh together. You're no value if you can't all be kept in line to some degree.
No value if you're not going to buy products.
Just subdue you.
If you're not going to buy Black Rifle coffee, if you're not going to buy gold, not interested.
Keep our content all monetized and keep having cocktails with those in charge of big tech.
But it pays.
They want you to do that, and they're forcing many of the people you watch to do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And I'm willing to bet that most of you watching right now can't do that. But okay, you know what? No. Let me rephrase. Of course I could. Of course I could do that. I won't. I won't do that. And I'm willing to bet that most of you won't either. Let me know just how many of you won't. Enter in your email at stopbigcon.com. Now, I just need some time to figure out how to do this. The requirement for infrastructure is light years beyond what we need for just this show. Some time to solve this puzzle as to how I can best and most efficiently accommodate you. And hopefully some time to restore my faith in a movement which frankly has been shaken by some, not all. There are a lot of good people in this movement.
Oh,
some really
man.
bad actors.
Is this a civil... we'll see if it's a civil war.
Long, drawn-out drama playing out.
I can't imagine Steven Crowder, one of the largest conservative content creators on the internet, him coming out with this video and like Ben not addressing it, like other people not I would be interested. It'll be interesting to see if any of them speak up.
Public square. I'd rather focus on how to serve you, the only people who truly matter in this movement and to this company, and I would say to the future of this country, you, the average American who's watching, not the person who's creating the content. And
the average American.
Right now, at home, in your car, in your truck, wherever you are.
I'm not in a truck or in a car. I'm
so in the interim,
on my laptop,
my
technically.
I'll still be on my social media pages. The silence is over now. I know I've been sort of gone to radio silence. I'll still be doing stand-up shows that you can always check out at louderwithcrowder.com/tour. I'll actually probably do some more of those. I think I'm in Kentucky February 10th. You can go and check it out. I may even upload the
Kentucky. These guys ever go to hostile crowds? Do they ever go to crowds that aren't gonna just kind of lap up whatever they say?
Also, I don't really do a lot of press. The last time I did it was I think the Vox Apocalypse because I just do this show. And for the first time in a while, I'll make myself available. I'll talk about this. So anyone who wants to learn more, anyone who has the balls to talk about this, isn't afraid from the backlash of maybe not getting the guests from the people who want to try and pinch us, you can send an email to media@louderwithcrowder.com and send in your inquiries here. I'll make myself available to talk about this. Now, if we are going to keep doing this, we need to do it right, and I need to do this in a way that does right by you, because you are the future of this country. You are the catalyst for change, not some major media company, not some guy in a boardroom figuring out ways to sell you more reverse.
Should I email Crowder? Be like, yo, come on the stream, and we'll talk about oh man,
mortgages,
that would be fun.
Pocket catheters. It's you. It's always been you. Those in Big Con would do well to not lose sight of that. So I want to be clear. Make no mistake. The liberals out there foaming at the mouth. This is not me turning against conservatism or an incident of friendly fire at all. Everything that I've ever stood for, I'm standing for now. It's precisely because I believe what I say that I'm doing this. And by the way, too many of these people aren't our friends. So this is the last call to those conservative businesses in on the Big Con.
The Big Con. I do like the branding. The branding's nice.
You've lost your way. It's never too late to correct the course. We can all work together and fix this. It doesn't have to be this way.
Crowder, greed is good. I'm sorry. Money is money, man.
I don't know why. I've tried to get an answer. I don't understand it. It doesn't have to be this way. Let's all reset and do it right.
Money. It's money.
And if not,
it's money.
Hey,
it's money. It's money.
And Mug Club is coming for all of it. The viewers and the talent.
It's money.
Now, to everyone else, everyone who's watched, listened, paid attention in any way, either right now or throughout the years, I just ask that you join me in letting them know that there are far more of us, far more of you than of them. Demand change, demand better, be a signatory. That's what this is. It's not just entering in your email. It's letting these people know at Big Con that you want something different, that you require better. Because you know what? I am going to march into these people's offices, these nameless, faceless people's offices, with your declaration and the number of you who exist. Those in Big Con are personally going to know just how.
So this is okay. This is mostly LARPing after this point. So mainly because you can go into a boardroom all you want at Bear Stearns or wherever the fuck, and slap down a bajillion signatures. I can't say that it's really gonna mean too much, to be honest with you. But let's give Crowder some credit where credit is due. It seems like Crowder is stepping out in front of most of the rest of his conservative ilk, and quite frankly, putting the signal up that he is the true conservative in the pen, which I guess we'll kind of find out. You know, it should be interesting. You know, contract law in the U.S. is wildly predatory. This is something that I think most people have at least some kind of vague understanding, or I should say, you know, I think a vague understanding most people have of like predatory contracts. You know, I mentioned music industry earlier and how, you know, how those kind of contracts end up working. But yeah, be interesting to see how this turns out, because you know, we're going to be it's gonna be interesting to see how many of these other networks are gonna have to talk about this, or how much of their audience also is going to be you know, how much of their audience is going to be aware, basically, of any of this stuff. So we'll kind of find out. In the meantime, oh, I should do the thingy. If God, we're like, what, 2.5 hours then? After 2.5 hours, if you've enjoyed any of what you've seen so far, I really appreciate that. And I would ask, you know, if it's not too much trouble, there's a follow button down there at the bottom. You should totally hit that, just so to kind of help support the show, kind of helps out us kind of grow the channel and everything. There's also a YouTube channel linked in the channel's description that you can go down and watch previous content of mine. If you want to check out older VODs, they will always be housed there, even after Twitch deletes them. But any support you can possibly, you know, volunteer, I am always appreciative of, and thank you for that. But we're going to go to a quick break. I'm just going to grab some water and then move on to the next video. So see you all in a moment. Excuse you. Gonna improve my posture there. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah. As you might be able to see, there is. Oh, he's going. Are you okay? He seems to just want to kind of lay between me and the backrest, so I guess I'm not going anywhere. My posture is gonna get a lot better. So Steven Crowder talked a little bit about, Crowder. So we heard Crowder kind of opine about, content creators and contracts and a bunch of other stuff. I want to take a look at one other person who I think Crowder really stuck his neck out to kind of, what's the word? Kind of to push himself forward as the real, conservative here at the party sort of deal, right? Kind of got the vibe a little bit from that. So let's take a look at somebody else who I think, after watching that video, I gotta say, I did gain some genuine respect for Steven Crowder, who seems like, based on that response, is a guy with values and a guy who wants to see those values elevated and not be driven by wealth, which I can respect. I think Crowder is a perfect example of somebody who genuinely believes the stuff he says. So to juxtapose that, let us take a look at somebody who I think is the antithesis to that. Somebody who is, who is not that. That person would be Tim Pool. So Tim had the Hodge twins. I've heard of these guys, which apparently something about grooming children or something. So let's kind of take a look. Somebody who clearly is just kind of following the money train on this one.
I remember I had to argue with my daughter when I first came out of politics. Harry Styles was wearing a dress, and my daughter's a huge fan.
There's apparently them explaining. Apparently, it's these dudes explaining how celebrities are being used to groom and manipulate children into wokeness. Which already, this is how famous people are being used to groom and manipulate. Which, as usual, we've said it before, grooming doesn't really have a definition anymore. It's basically just teaching any of your kids any nominally liberal views. Manipulate, that's basically the same thing. Children into wokeness, which is, what's wokeness? Again, all of this is, you could pretty much read this as like how celebrities are being used to teach liberal values to children to get them to adopt liberal values. That's pretty much it. Like,
crying.
It's just they're teaching them liberal values by teaching them
just trying to figure out what
liberal
was at the time.
values.
My daughter was like 13. I'm like, why are you crying? I'm just spitting facts here. These are not opinions. And she started telling me about, guys getting pregnant. And I was like, she just didn't know because I had never sat down with her and she was on social media. So
what did you say? Like,
I said, something about the dress and being a guy wearing a dress.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's, anybody can wear a dress. I was like, but I told her the reason why he's wearing the dress. She said, but he's cute. I think it looks great on him. I said, no, it's not. It doesn't look great on him. What? You're 13. You're highly impressive.
Wow. Fuck your opinions. Jesus. This is great parenting. Your kids say they like a thing. No, you don't. It's terrible. Hi. No, you're not. No. Oh, he's purring. No. Stop. I appreciate you being happy to be on the show, Misa. But no. Okay, sorry.
He could wear a dress. I was like, but I told her the reason why he's wearing the dress. She said, well, he's cute. I think it looks great on him.
Wait.
I said, no, it's...
What was the reason he's wearing the dress? Because men can wear dresses and it's not a big deal. Because the idea of a man wearing a dress is not... actually, men wearing dresses isn't really historically significant either, considering men wore dresses for centuries dresses aren't. It's just fabric it's just fabric stitched in a different way. Like I don't get the big hullabaloo about it.
No, it's not. It doesn't look great on him. You're 13.
It absolutely does. Stop.
Yeah, so it's like like people with Kanye when he came on here. People stood up for Kanye what he did when he came here when he was totally in the wrong. It's because they love his music. They're biased. They're not thinking. Yeah. She was a huge Harry Styles fan, and she wasn't listening. And whatever I said, it hurt her feelings. And
wait, are you wait? Are we comparing Kanye West advocating for like anti-Semitic Nazi views to Harry Styles deciding to wear a dress? Are those two things equal? Do those two things create the same kind of harm? Okay. That's a take.
Now she's 20 and and we was the same way growing up, looking at Madonna, listening to her music. I never understood.
Wait a minute. His daughter was 13 when Harry Styles did the dress thing, but now his daughter's 20. Did I miss something? That wasn't 7 years ago.
What parents is like,
was it? No.
Don't watch her. She's Satan, you know? Yeah. As I got older, it makes more sense now. Yeah. These people are put in positions of power with this highly impressionable kids, and they're there to manipulate them and have them think and act. And I think nowadays, vote a certain way in our society.
This is just stupidity. This is just like your fucking brain is broken. Okay, so let's explain this a little bit. Humans have this natural, I think, instinct, a natural ability and an instinct to see and to see and create patterns, right? To like most people, like people in general, we're good at creating patterns, at recognizing patterns, right? What that unfortunately has what a side effect of that is that we tend to see patterns where there really aren't. This gets into kind of a mistake of, mistaking correlation for causation and kind of seeing a connection, kind of seeing broadly like, these things kind of line up and these things kind of make sense, and like kind of rolling with it past the point in which it kind of makes sense and you start narrativizing. You start coming up with justifications for the pattern that you see in your head. It's your head canon. To them, they're like, the kids, they're, Harry Styles, he was a Disney Channel person, but like, they probably already had an idea that he might be into this like gender fluid stuff, and so when he got older, they put him into a dress so that he could indoctrinate children. When in actuality, the fact that like the points of like the points in which you paid attention were like your daughter liked Harry Styles, your daughter, like when she was younger, your daughter liked Harry Styles when he was older and was wearing a dress, your daughter didn't really see a problem with it, and you thought like, how did we get to this point? Instead of them being these just things that happened, events, time pass in between all of them. It's just people just weren't really too bothered by it. Some people, like this guy, clearly was, because he has a vision, a conception of masculinity, of what being a man is, that's outdated. Like it's just an outdated, not just inorganic, but unfluid a conception of masculinity. This is masculinity from 20 years ago that this person is working from. And like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but to kind of reject the forward vision of what masculinity can be, you're fighting gravity, pal. You're fighting gravity. I don't know what to tell you, man. Men in general are going to resemble less of the kind of man that you recognize in your youth. Same thing happened to your father, same thing happened to his father, which happened to his and happened to his before. Like there was a time where men like shot each other in bars, stole horses, and like drank till their kidney failed and died of dysentery or tuberculosis. There was a time where that was, and smoked all day. There was a time when these were the manly things to do. Do you think the men in 1899 are would recognize your 2000s conception of manhood with your trucks, with your tight shirts? Do you think they would? There was a time when wearing tight shirts for guys was unmanly. Like, it's always changing. But if you can't fight it, man. It's gravity. You're fighting gravity, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
People were trying to sexualize society on purpose. That was real. Then I started hearing about that. I just learned about this Kinsey guy.
And I think nowadays vote a certain way.
Well, that's convenient.
It's just so improbable that people were trying to sexualize society on purpose. That was real. Then I started hearing about that. I just learned about this Kinsey guy. I learned about it a little while ago.
And what do we mean sexualize society? So this is always the question where it's like, what do you mean by sexualization? Because if you're saying that, like, Harry Styles wearing a dress is sexualization, then what isn't sexualization? It's pretty much everything. Harry Styles doesn't wear a dress because he gets fucking rock hard wearing a dress. He wears a dress because he felt like it. Sometimes the explanation is actually rather simple, that people just kind of feel like doing stuff, and, like, all the pearl clutching by people who get triggered by that isn't really all that interesting to people sometimes. Sometimes people are spiteful and do things actively to trigger people. Conservatives understand this. Triggering the libs is a core part of their political movement these days. But, like, my dude's wearing a dress because he felt like wearing a dress and because it would be something different. But if you're seeing that as sexual, then we have a lot of questions. I have quite a few questions as to what is sexual. Because I've been to the beach. I've watched TV before. At what point are we just going to start rolling back? Not just societal norms, but media norms. There was a time when men and women on television couldn't be shown sleeping in the same bed. Is showing them in the same bed sexualization? Is that damaging to society? You can play this game all you want, but you're gonna kind of you're gonna run into the fact that anything can be painted disingenuously to be sexual if you define anything as sexual. Basically, it's
this sex doctor from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, whatever it was. And Hugh Hefner was his student, and they were overtly attempting to sexualize college kids. Like, they would go to college campuses. Like, we are going to sexualize society. So I guess we're still seeing this.
Yeah, the grooming stuff's real, man.
Yeah,
totally. So about the celebrity stuff, I remember I was working for one nonprofit, and they were like, "I'm a big fan of Death Cab for Cutie," and they said, "Who wants to go see a Death Cab concert?" And I was like, "Are you kidding?" And, like, it was really popular with college kids at the time, and so they said, "Anybody who
I've never been a big
voter
Death Cab
registration at the
person.
event gets an all access pass." And I was like,
"Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
done. You tell me where and when." They give me an all-access pass. They give me a stack of voter registration forms and said, "Go out and just ask people." I got to hang out backstage and meet the band. So right there,
amazing.
Like, they're very, very clever in how they do this stuff. Now, I'm not saying anything about the band. The band wasn't doing anything.
Amazing.
But this organization knew to go after young people in these spaces to exploit the celebrity because they knew
Yes. 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 Like anything else, you incentivize people to educate themselves.
would do it for them. And I was like, I don't know, I was like 20 years old.
Yeah, well, like, that's why Biden talked to Cardi B. That's why they talked to The Rock. I mean,
Johnson,
it's just
influence.
Because 40% of this country.
Goddamn right, it's The Rock, not Dwayne Johnson.
What Cardi B says or The Rock says. That's why they do it.
But Cardi B's doing all right. Cardi B's, sort of been calling it out. You know what I mean? Have you seen their stuff?
Yeah, I see.
Wait, are we complaining that people of what's the word, artistic status are used to are used to forward movements that they're sympathetic towards? Yeah, is that shocking? I didn't think that was that shocking. Guys, like, Tim, have you ever done an ad read before? There's a reason why you do that ad read. It's not because whatever coffee company or whatever the fuck is like, oh, this person is like such a, you know, it's not because you support them, although they'd like that, but like the reason is because you have a reach. You can reach more people with their message. That's kind of the idea. It's not something that the left does. It's something that everybody does.
Inflation video. She's talking about a head of lettuce is $7. So it's because you're going to the Gucci store buying your lettuce.
Yeah, but The Rock looks broke. He looks like he'll back any candidate for any amount of money. He has no shame. No shame at all.
He did a tweet.
You're nuts.
I think it was exact on the date, 365 day where he was endorsing them. And I responded to him. I said, today, I want you to remember the day you recommended the worst president and worst vice president in our history. I think it was on Instagram. Yeah. That dude.
Did The Rock give a shit? Bro, The Rock would fucking end you. Sit the fuck down. And actually, let me be clear. I actually mean that. The Rock is a big motherfucker. And this guy's no lightweight either. But The Rock was also in combat sports for like 2 decades. So trust me when I say, my friend, I wouldn't push that envelope too far with a guy with his background. I wouldn't push that too far.
You can't tell me he wasn't paid money to do that.
Yeah. He supported Gavin Newsom when Gavin Newsom had this whole scandal with the restaurant. He supported any politician that will just probably give him a little bit of money.
That's
because,
just sleazy,
as we
right?
know, that's what a lot.
It's
of
almost like
that's what a lot of these celebrities do.
A lot of conservatives with their sponsorships.
That's how it works. Exactly.
That is absolute sellout.
Selling out this country, most importantly. Just like John Cena.
Remember when Biden invented sponsorships? Fucking Biden creation.
His, Mandarin.
Apologizing.
Yes. Bowing down.
Weird.
And,
And that's okay. You're allowed to.
Yeah, because it was gonna make WWE money. That was so. If you don't understand why that was a thing, it's because WWE has been on a campaign to breach into the Chinese market with like their product. So it's why John Cena was asked to be a kind of be a mouthpiece for them, because he is in the United States. But you know, John Cena being the WWE's the largest contemporary wrestler over the last 20 years, you know, they needed somebody to deliver that message to the Chinese audience, and you know, he learned Chinese for the explicit goal of helping WWE gain a foothold in China. That's why that happened. He learned that in pursuit of profit. That's it. That is literally where it begins and ends, fellas. But if you don't, you know, if all you see is, oh, John Cena, he might be woke, or he's he learned Mandarin because he wants to be a communist or some nonsense. When you don't have any of that context, you just look fucking stupid. Like there's a reason why he did that, is because they wanted to get into China.
You're allowed to wear a dress.
Yep.
But they're going to ban you if you've got conservative opinions. Why? Because they want to make sure that kids only hear one side of the equation. 10 years.
Actually, would you like to know why? Tim, would you like to know why they banned conservatives? Not disproportionately, but why some large conservatives get banned. It's because advertisers. You know, we just talked about this in the last segment. At the end of the day, advertisers don't want to be around the vaccine disinfo. They don't want to be around the fascist propaganda. Advertisers don't want to be around this stuff. And you know, that would be, you know, if you want to challenge that system, you need to challenge capital. But if you're just going to sit here and bitch and moan that your value system isn't the one that's being isn't being forwarded, then I can't help you there. Like, there's nothing I can do for you, pal. Like, you gotta, I don't know what to tell you.
The 10-year-old kid.
This is what happens when you don't have a systemic critique,
goes on TikTok,
where all you can do
school,
is complain about individual
10 years
companies.
from now, that kid's going to be voting. Who do you think they're going to vote for? Unless y'all start speaking up, showing up to skate events this Saturday, 10 a.m.
There you go.
And just saying, look, man, this is what I tell people. You don't need to.
Whoa, are you hosting a skateboarding event to push your conservative values? Geez, aren't you grooming and indoctrinating our children?
Come out and wave an American flag and scream Trump's name out
It's
loud.
not. It's
you don't
it's
gotta put
not.
on cue
It's
shaman
not that.
horns
Right.
and
It's
scream
not that
as loud as you can.
complex.
All you got to do is mind your own business and just be
Go
like.
back where you came from.
All you got to do is mind your own business and just be like, I don't know about all that. That's it. When someone comes to you and says, you know, man, it's like these Trumpsters are so bad. Like, they're all nasty people. You just go, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, huh? Interesting.
No. I don't know about all that.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. Fucking Tim Pool's like fucking entire like advice here is to just be like him and go, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't really know. I don't know anything. What do I know? I don't know anything. I don't really have opinions. Whatever sounds best to you, man, whatever. This is how you know that Tim Pool just solves all conflict with just being like, I don't know, whatever's fine. Like, it's not, this is what we mean. Like, when I said I respected Crowder for at least having fucking the balls to stand up for his values, this is the difference. This is the antipathy to that. Because this motherfucker doesn't believe a goddamn thing. If he gave a shit, he would go to skaters and be like, hey, actually, Trump supporters are great. They believe in freedom, they do this, but what is the solution? To just fucking play to the center. Just fucking fence it the entire time. Because that's the only thing Tim Pool knows how to do, is fence it. Because he doesn't actually have values. He doesn't actually have opinions. Whatever's going to pay him the most. Right now, it's the anti-trans stuff. So he pushes the anti-trans stuff. Next week, it'll be something else. But it's whatever's going to be paying him. It's why he used to refer to himself as a liberal, and now he's a conservative. But he doesn't want to claim that yet because his value is in him being a former liberal.
To respond to people. That's something that's important for people to understand, I think, in reality. You never have to respond.
Right.
You might be, even in court, plead the fifth. You don't even have to respond in court legally because we realize it, but ethically, there's so many questions that are leading you towards a way of answering. You don't have to respond to that stuff.
Don't listen to this guy.
Say, yeah.
Do not take legal advice from this guy.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something wrong with it sometimes.
When you guys were transitioning into politics, like, what was that? What was your state of mind for the months before that?
Money.
Yeah, I just kept it to myself. And when we came out, we talked about it. Like,
my favorite, because they went from being like non-political to now they just exclusively wear We the People shirts. They saw where the money was, so they chased it. Like, that's all this is. Like, if I wanted to make money, if I wanted to like be bigger on this and really any platform, I would come on here and just do as a leftist, I just think that like the left has some real problems. I'm starting to think maybe conservatives have like a point in some things. Maybe freedom is we've seen it 1.5 million times for a reason. You go conservatives, you're gonna make a lot of money because there's a lot of money backing conservative institutions. And again, I respect Crowder for because they want people to sign those contracts that Crowder mentioned that are incredibly predatory, and make sure that guys like this have to keep pumping out content. They have to keep doubling down on their politics. But they're gonna end up getting fucking clapped with fees and shit, because the content that some of these companies want them to pump out is going to get them demonetized, and then they're going to be punished by the contract holder for being demonetized by pushing the content they signed them to make. So it's predatory 360 degrees around.
Pretty much alienate half my fan base, and that's exactly what we did when we came out. It's just, at first we tried to come in neutral, just more common sense. And they were still unsubscribing, still, saying
yes, because not actually having opinions won't get you an audience and won't actually do anything for you.
Well, we did come in neutral. Our first video about the kid, we just said no one should be attacked for wearing a shirt, expressing their First Amendment right, whether he's wearing a Biden shirt or a Trump shirt. No one should ever be attacked for wearing Obama.
I'm assuming we're talking about some.
Top comment: Trump supporters. I knew it. I'm unsubscribing. I was like, it's not. We lost like 10,000 followers in within an hour. Yeah, it's supposed to be on Instagram.
Damn, fucking L.
10,000 out of how many? Doesn't it feel like aliens came and infected their brain and took over their bodies?
We took a picture with Trump like a cardboard cutout. Yeah. And we just put up and we're just laughing in the photo. They thought it was actually Donald Trump. I mean, that's how dumb. I mean, I'm not saying they're dumb, but people are just so ignorant.
Yeah. God damn, that's a way to build a fucking audience.
It's like,
I think they're pod people. I mean, I don't mean that seriously. I mean that figuratively. But it's like the NPC meme is real.
Yeah.
These are people who are just like sitting there with their eyes glazed over and drool coming out of their mouth, and then they're just
this
like,
is true.
But Donald Trump is bad. And you're like, yo, it's a cardboard cutout. It's not a real Trump. Yeah. But Donald Trump is bad. And you're like, my guy, it's a joke. It's not.
Yeah.
There are NPCs on both sides. Don't ever get that twisted. There are absolutely NPCs on both sides.
Yeah.
I know. That's the thing. It's like we said. This is the crazy thing about a show like this. Is like, Luke's what are you, an anarchist? I guess I'm like moderate. Ian's wild card.
Oh my God. Yeah. You see what I mean? Where it's like, oh yeah, I'm moderate. The fuck, Tim? We can look through your videos. You ain't moderate, my friend. I'm sorry to inform you. You're about as moderate as fucking as fucking Crowder. Please spare me on this unmoderate shit.
In a lot of people
fascist liberal.
Fascist liberal. But like we get opinions all across the board.
So just a fascist.
But the
Got
only
it.
thing that matters. Doesn't matter
Lisa,
whether
you're
you're
doing a
pro-life,
lot of
pro-choice,
traveling
pro-government,
today.
again, anti-government, pro-tax, pro-parks department. All that matters is, are you with the cult or against the cult? Because if you're against the cult, you're a bad guy, period, no matter what your opinions are.
Right.
You come out and you say to someone like, I agree with every single one of your opinions, except...
Wait.
No, that's it.
You're a fraud. Yeah, you're a horrible.
You're fired, get out.
Wait. I know Tim Pool, a guy who is very interested in the drag show stuff. I know he hasn't spoken negatively about people who attend drag shows, has he? He hasn't made that a core part of his content in the last 6 months, has he? He hasn't made that basically a litmus test as to as to who should be a part of his movement or part of his on his side, has he? Oh, he has. Well, shit, that fucking sucks.
Out, you're a Trump supporter.
I mean, that whole BLM, that was just one of the biggest frauds of the decade.
Biggest grifts of our time.
And a lot of that money went to Democrat politicians.
That was what was the worst part about it was the misappropriated funds. Like people were buying houses. The woman bought a mansion with that.
Yeah, they're living, and what
Yes, it's called corruption. Yes, it's bad.
made it worse, they're living around white people with all kinds of police officers.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well-funded police departments.
Yes.
That was the funny thing. I remember there was a BLM protest in Wisconsin we talked about.
The first thing people who live in poor neighborhoods do is move out and try to move into richer neighborhoods because they're nicer. Yes, that is a thing that happens. That is true.
All the BLM protesters are outside of this guy's house. He brandishes a shotgun, so they call the police.
Right.
When the police come, they're all screaming and cheering. We're like, wait, hold on a minute.
This is a conversation talking about like
Wait,
people that
what?
are susceptible to cults.
Wait, what? But if people like the police when they do good things, that means that it's not that they dislike police. It's that they don't like the system of policing that's causing harm. That's kind of the critique. Again, this is the problem when you don't have systemic critique. When you have no ability to critique systems and it's only about individuals and personal private individuals.
People, you might want to call them stupid. People with the eyes glazed over. They're in so much pain that they don't even realize they're in pain.
This guy, this guy's 200% an anarchist. Actually, he's probably not, but like,
that are just willing to worship.
He definitely looks like it.
TV.
Definitely looks like it.
What do we do with them? What's a industrious, like what's a freedom-loving way to deal with them? Because otherwise they won't.
Holy shit! How many times are you gonna throw that fucking?
Particularly those people are very emotional.
Subscribe thing up there.
Just by something that makes them feel sad or happy.
Yeah.
People that think that way, they're just very easily manipulated because they don't have their emotions in check. Anybody that way is like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah, this is why.
Wait! The guy who was complaining that Harry Styles wore a dress for a photo shoot is now complaining about other people not having their emotions in check. Glass houses, my dude. Glass houses.
So important for me and for a lot of different people, because if you don't have your health right, if your gut is not right, your brain can't be operating properly. And if your brain's not working properly, you're more emotional. When you're more emotional, you're less logical. So I think, first of all, just having
is that true?
About mental health.
I'm not 100% sure how true that is.
There's a reason there's so many articles talking about how right wingers are more prone to work out than left wingers. There's a reason why there's this kind of philosophy of personal responsibility that's more prevalent on one side than the other side. So I think a lot of this has to be.
Andrew Callahan would tend to disagree with you, since he still hasn't demonstrated enough personal responsibility after his sexual assault allegations. When it comes to personal responsibility, the left is rather irritating sometimes with the amount of personal responsibility they demand. But the difference is the right is rather uninterested in personal responsibility unless it's, something that's against kind of the rest of the group. If you've got some left-wing opinion, then they want accountability, then they want all this. But as long as it fits within right-wing politics, right-wing perspective, then it's all good. You don't have to worry about personal responsibility.
Be done by leading by example. I think we should never be telling people exactly what to do. I think through empathy, through conversations, through listening to people.
Oh my God,
say,
this
hey,
person is such a fucking
you
liberal.
Be the best version of yourself, and when you are, you don't need the government. You don't need all the consumerist products. You don't need all this other bullcrap that's superficial, that's made up, that's marketed to you, that essentially take away from your life and
what is this person talking about?
Source that you have here on this planet. You yourself are becoming more of a self-independent human being that is, a person that doesn't need anything and doesn't feed the system.
But.
Why don't you just walk? What I never get about these guys is they always do like this, like, oh, you don't want to feed into this. It's all right, fine. You just don't want to be in society. That's totally fine. If you do not want to be part of society, that is totally fine. Pack your shit, walk into the woods, go do whatever it is you're gonna do. Hi, hello. No. Okay. Just Go all the way through. Thank you. Like, and this is the problem. They have no ability to critique the system and actually fix it. They always want to just argue, just leave society or stay in it and do nothing. There's never any kind of reformist streak in these guys. There's no ability to create a better system. It's always the system either has to be like this, like the way it was when we first built it, or not at all. And it is this inability to fucking grow and adapt, which is why their politics are always the fucking same. Why they get triggered by people fucking wearing dresses. Because they just can't fucking adapt to the modern day. It's that fucking hard. It's that inconceivable to them. That like a man would wear a dress. Like, it's so detrimental to their fucking founding of their like identity. That they're like, I can't imagine why somebody would want to wear a dress. Why do people wear fucking kilts? Those are half dresses. Maybe a dress feels nice. Maybe it feels I don't give a shit. I don't wear dresses. But fuck, for Christ's sake, if you can't even imagine how fucking like jeans feel, how are you supposed to find out how shorts feel if you've only spent your entire life wearing like fucking yoga pants? I picked the wrong clothing in the wrong order. But my point is, you need to grow and learn and try new things. Fuck's sake. Instead of this like, no man, I gotta be a man who wears like a tight black shirt and some fucking jeans at all times, and I gotta have all this like facial hair. I can't wear a dress. That'd be fucking stupid. That'd be weird. How am I supposed to be a guy and wear it's just fabric? Chill your fucking ass out. God damn. So fucking triggered. You talking about other people's emotions.
So many people are just so dependent on other people.
Yeah.
People
that's
that's more dependent on other people, not independent. Yeah, they easily gonna be swinging.
It's like
left. It's always gonna be those people who just dependent on other people and they don't practice self.
You mean like how you're dependent on your brother?
Well, a lot of those people don't have families too.
Right. Yeah.
So when you have a family, you have a family unit that is able to depend on each other and help each other out, because not everyone's going to be 100% personally responsible and perfect all the time.
We're talking
But
about
if you have a
marriage,
family
aren't we?
to help you out here, and I think this is why there has been such a concerted effort and such an attack on the family unit.
Right.
Through culture, through of course online pornography, through of course dating, through of course all the psyops and
Oh yeah, guys. If you watch porn, you can't have families. Your brain just has been morphed into a shape that is now incapable of forming families and connections with people and romantic connections. That's
psychological
also
warfare that's happening out there, because then if you're able
people
to make
people
an
never
individual
got
just by
didn't
themselves, you're able to make them a victim
famous
a lot
people
easier.
never got married after porn came out.
It's not that these people depend on others; is that they depend on government. They want the government to step in because they have no one else in their lives to help them or to back them up. So when they get a proposition like
what? First of all, what are you talking about? So this is incredibly unspecific, which I find irritating, because depending on what he's talking about, he's either right or absolutely wrong. He is right and wrong both at the same time in this statement, because there's no fucking grounding of who or what the fuck he's talking about. If we're talking about food stamps, yes, we do need to supply food stamps to people who can't afford food, because if not, they fucking starve to death. Which, I don't know if you know this, but having people starve in your society isn't really good. It does not create good outcomes to have mass numbers of people starve to death. The same goes for if you have fucked up ass roads. Your society doesn't function well when you have fucked up, destroyed roads that people have to drive on. By the way, they drive on them on their cars that they've spent thousands of dollars buying and are now being destroyed, not just by not just by the whims of what's the word I'm looking for, of the market, not just by the whims of the market and the devaluation of the devaluation of your car every single year, but also the actual mechanical functioning of the damn thing. Living in a society means you have to buy into that society. That also means that there are going to be people that you are going to have to keep, at the very least, sustained by the society. Not everybody is always going to be able to have a house with a white picket, front yard, backyard, dog, 2 kids, and like all the rest of this shit. Not everybody in any society at all is ever going to be able to have the best outcomes. What you can have is have everybody have a baseline outcome. And where that baseline is what you want to aim for. You want to aim for a positive and egalitarian baseline that everybody can reach and that nobody goes below. Now, if you don't want any of these things, then you can fuck off. That's fine. Go live in fucking Antarctica or wherever. But unfortunately, this planet has been split up into societies. I'm sorry, there's no getting away from that. If you'd like, just go walk out into the fucking woods and try to live off the grid for all I care. Now, if the government finds you on government land, then they're going to have to kick you off. You're going to have to go somewhere else. Sorry, you have to deal with it. But, like, if you don't want to be a part of society, then fuck right off. Go to a different one. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, just because you're doing good does not mean you now don't have to participate in society. That's not a thing. You participate in it to get to the place you're at. This guy gets to show up on YouTube, right? This guy gets to show up on YouTube and talk about how other people are dependent on the government dollar. Would you like to know what he's dependent on right now? The internet. Without government-funded research into the internet, this asshole would not be on here making however much money he fucking makes off the back of taxpayers. But to him, he's like, oh no, people are just too dependent. Fucker, you're on the internet. You're the most dependent motherfucker in the room right now. Do not come at me about independence. Fucking the road you drived on to get to Tim's studio. Fucking the car that you fucking drove. Fucking Christ. Any medicine you've ever fucking taken, quite a bit of it recently especially, fucking funded by government, by public funds, like in public institutions where the research is done. There is no there's no version of this where you get to not participate at fucking age 30, whatever that this guy is at. Sorry, dude, you've already gotten a lot out of the society. It's time for you to fucking pay back and let other people just get by.
Like, hey, the government's going to write you a $2,000 check. Hey, the government's going to come in here and give you free health care. Hey, the government's going to help you be euthanized. Hey, people are like, yeah, that's
Don't you have a right to life?
And then that kind of existence where you depend on others and suck and be an energy vampire is an existence that.
It's too bad we wouldn't just pay taxes for all of these services. It's not like you would be buying into these.
People are trapped in the loop of and nudging them and at least having them.
This dude's fucking stupid. This dude makes my fucking brain hurt.
I think would lead to.
I actually have a fucking headache.
Watching this clip from the Timcast IRL.
Oh my God, Tim, shut the fuck up! Jesus Christ, what a fucking liberal, fucking idiot, doesn't know fucking anything. He's made it, and now that guy's like, oh well, now that I've made it, I would like to not participate in the society which allowed me to thrive and create a business and have a platform that I get to just kind of talk about whatever my opinions are. Like, oh, isn't this great? Isn't this a lovely format for the world? This has worked out great for me, but if it might work out for you, then go fuck yourself. Oh, fuck, god damn it. Fucking what a fucking idiot. God shit. The idea that guy's like, oh yeah, I'm a liberal. Yeah, you're not a liberal, you're a dipshit. Jesus Christ. Ay, ay, ay. Jesus. Anyway. Alright. I'm just gonna scroll through. Oh man, that does make me sad. What the fuck? Okay. Oh, wait. Did people see? Whoa, what is this? Matter as. Interesting. That's not coming. Why is that not coming up? Huh. That's weird. No. This. Thank you. New West Virginia Bill SB 252 would define obscene matter as exposure to transgender people. It would make it a felony to share any content regarding transgender people with a minor. This is blatantly unconstitutional. Yeah, no shit. 1. An average person applying contemporary adult community standards would find, taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interest is intended to appeal to the prurient interest or is pandered to a prurient interest. Christ above. An average person applying community standards would find depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexually explicit conduct, and number 3, a reasonable person would find, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. For the purpose of any prohibition, protection, or requirement under any and all articles and sections of the Code of West Virginia protecting children from exposure to indecent displays of sexually explicit nature, such a prohibited displays shall include but not be limited to any transvestite and or transgender exposure, performances, or display to any minor. Chapter 61, Crimes and Their Punishment, Article An adult with knowledge of the character of matter who knowingly and intentionally distributes, offers to distribute, or displays to a minor any obscene matter is guilty of a felony and, upon conviction thereof, shall be fined not more than $25,000 or confined in state correctional facility for not more than 5 years or both. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. No, that's not what I wanted. Jesus. So, yeah, this is just redefining. This is just redefining trans people as being like literally illegal. This is literally what's the word? Criminalizing being transgender in public. This bill is updating the criminal code in West Virginia. Obscene matter means an average person applying contemporary adult community standards would find taken as a, oh, right. Okay, yeah. So yeah, they're redefining obscene matter basically to include, so all of this stuff would be the normal stuff, but they're adding, okay, I understand. Christ. Just tax on transgender people onto the Miller test. It's not only unconscionable, it's terrible legislative drafting. The prior 3 elements were conjunctive with ands, and the 4th element is just tacked on, which doesn't indicate if all 4 elements have to be met. Regardless, it seems to be a direct attack on the Miller test. We already saw a lawsuit in Virginia attempting to do to this last year. The end goal is clearly obvious. They want to criminalize and any basically. Of unconstitutionally persecuting people is for love. Yep. Jesus Christ. Well, there's your daily dose of people going after transgender people because God forbid they exist. And the right really wants to get on their high horse and talk about how they're the ones who are being oppressed or what's the word? Being, being put upon. Jesus Christ. It's nuts. That's nuts. Okay. I don't know why that switched back. Okay. Anyway. All right. Well, either way. Yeah. So that's been the show. I just saw that right before closing. I just thought it might be a bit interesting. That's great. Oh, the world is a lovely place. Anyway, yeah, that's been the show. If you've enjoyed any of what you saw, if you know, any of this piqued any interest in you, if you're entertained by it at all, I would implores you to go ahead and hit that follow button. It really helps out the channel, helps out me. I have a normal, I have a normal IRL job, and doing this I much prefer, and doing this more means I get to do that less. So kind of trying to build the channel. It helps out. There's also a YouTube channel linked down there. If you want to check out previous content, there's clipped out stuff, and then obviously VODs if you ever want to watch them after they get deleted here on Twitch. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Thursday will be the next show. But yeah, I will see you all Thursday. You all have a lovely night. Goodbye.